It being on or about 6:30, we have a scheduled executive session this evening from approximately 6:30 until 7 p.m. when we return to regular session. So with that, I'll take a motion followed by a roll call to enter executive session.
Motion to enter into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Police Chief Michael Grace.
Second.
We'll go right in order.
Mark, yes?
Dennis, yes?
Leah, yes?
Stephanie, yes.
And Seth will probably join us at some point during the executive session. We do expect
there.
him. All right, so we'll see everyone approximately 30 minutes around 7 p.m. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Tuesday, September 13th, 2022 Board of Selectmen minute. It's about 7:07, and we've just finished our executive session and reconvening back in open session. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Kay, you can lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, great. We've got quite a full house here this evening. Anyone here for citizens input? No? Okay. Moving right along, we have 3 public hearings right in a row having to do, or sorry, actually 2 public hearings, and then another liquor-related item. So we're going to go through those first, and then I think many of you people are here for the Cultural Council, right? Yeah? Okay. All right.
Actually, I guess it is a citizen.
You have a citizen input? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Come on up. Just tell us your name and what group you're with, and a little bit about what you have to say.
Hi, I'm Kay Anberg. I'm with the Rotary Club of Foxborough, and we wanted to thank the Selectmen.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
They're opening your mic. There's a seat in the front, Art. The whole front row's open. Yep, for you. I knew you were
Just for
coming.
you, Arthur, just for you.
I told them all.
Is he good?
Yep.
Good. Okay, Kay.
Hi, I'm Kay Andberg on Maple Ave. I'm with the Foxborough Rotary Club, thanking the town and the Selectmen Board for the support of the Foxborough Peace Day. It's going to be this Saturday, September 17th, on the Common from 1 to 4. We have a lot of different community organizations coming out to share what they do, also and some cultural groups. And the exciting thing, we're having music and dance performances. The music is really amazing, as well as some thoughts on peace given by a number of people within the community, including the Norfolk Advocates for Children, anti-bullying, the senator, county commissioner, and a kindness story time by the Boyden Library. So there'll be information out on Facebook already and Twitter, and it'll be going out in the town, the elementary schools as well. I do also want to thank so much for the support. There will be a peace pole being erected sometime this year at the Boyden Library with different languages as well. So thanks so much. I'll see you on Saturday.
Wonderful, Kay. Thank you. All right. Anyone else for citizens input? Okay. All right, so up first, we have Fat Tuesdays. So if the group for Fat Tuesdays could come up, introduce yourselves, please.
Please open the hearing.
Oh, yep. Sorry, we have a public hearing notice while you get organized.
All right. The Board of Selectmen, acting as a local licensing authority pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 138, will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, September 13th, 2022, beginning at 7:05 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Town Hall, 40 South Street, Foxborough, Mass., on the application of an on-premises annual all-alcohol restaurant license authorized by special legislation, Chapter 201 of the Acts of 2007, for 190 Octane Place, LLC, doing business as Fat Tuesday, 26 Patriot Place, Foxborough, Mass. Manager Sammy No Guerrero. Additionally, license requests approval of a common Victualler and 7-day entertainment license for established hours of operation. All interested parties are welcome to attend.
All right, great. So if you don't mind just introducing yourself, and then tell us a little bit about this application. It is a little different, so there may be some questions, I think, from the board.
Absolutely, and that's why we're here.
Okay, great.
Good evening. My name is Tom Miller from McDermott, Quilty & Miller in Boston. Here on behalf of the applicant, you've met my assistant, Steve Miller, my father and managing partner.
Rapidly.
It's his father, everyone in the audience.
We're also joined by Paul Namey of Fat Tuesdays and Sammy Guerrero, who is the proposed manager of record, also of Fat Tuesdays. Or I keep adding the S, it's just Fat Tuesday. This is a growing company with over 40 locations in the U.S. and abroad. They look to bring the feel of Bourbon Street and to Patriot Place, and they're growing in these locations adjacent to these stadiums that have that vibrancy and energy that they look for with their brand. This is the first location in New England, and they're looking to do it here. This space is approximately 1,560 square feet, so it's relatively small. We're proposing about 20 seats, though that may fluctuate depending on what our friends at the building department give us for occupancy. This is going to be a quick service food establishment that serves the frozen drinks that Bourbon Street is famous for. In the packet you have and in our presentation tonight, you can see we have a food menu that focuses on quick service foods that people can take and enjoy with their alcoholic or non-alcoholic drinks. In this location, they're going to be offering a limited selection of their menu of premium frozen beverages, including the non-alcoholic frozen lemonade you can see on the menu. They're also going to be proposing bottled beer and soft drinks to go along with it. Once these drinks are prepared in a proprietary way, which allows them to stay frozen for longer, which gives you, a nice long time to enjoy these drinks. It also ends up meaning that their alcohol content is more around the craft beer level. It's the 6 to 10%, roughly. Their mainstay brand, which is the 190 Octane, once all is said and done, is about 10% ABV at the time you drink it. The fact it's also frozen means that you're not going to be able to chug one of these. It's, unless you really enjoy those ice cream headaches, those brain freezes. This is a drink that people enjoy over time. This is not something that is consumed quickly, even if it's just not possible. So Fat Tuesday does have a policy. Every customer who comes in gets carded. Their ID is scanned by their system. It's checked, by the person actually at the counter, and then it is scanned into the system. Only one drink is served to a customer at a time. Can't buy more than one drink at any given time. The area will be completely covered by security cameras, which will, the staff has immediate access to and can view ongoing. The staff has a good view of the seating area, so they can maintain view and control over anybody on the premises. All staff is going to be TIP certified, and in addition to TIP certification, they'll receive additional in-house training on what Fat Tuesday expects from their employees in the sale and service of not only food but also alcohol. And they have, thanks to Brian, been in contact with the Fox Cares group. They are aware of its existence and are looking forward to being active participants in Fox Care. Sammy is the proposed manager of record. He's hanging out down there at the end. He is the VP for special projects. He has an extensive amount of experience in the food and beverage industry. I think he mentioned earlier it's 26 years.
My team as a whole.
Your team as a whole has over 50
Over
years with
50
Fat
years.
Tuesday. He has extensive experience individually.
15 years in
15
operations.
years. So I went to law school, I didn't get a math degree. He is a U.S. citizen. He is very familiar with the rules and regulations generally for the sale and service of alcohol. He is familiar with the the rules of the ABCC, the town's rules for the sale and service, and he's also familiar with the rules and regulations as the Mass General laws lay them out. He is here to train the staff, get this place open, identify a manager, a long-term manager for this establishment, train them to the standards that Fat Tuesday expects and the town expects for somebody to for the sale and service
of alcohol within the town. He will be here as long as it takes to do that. Once that person has been identified, they're going to go through a full level of training, and then we will be back before you with an application for a change of manager. You guys will be able to vet that person, answer any questions, ask any questions you have of that person, but we'll be back before you. This is a common practice for larger chains to bring somebody in, an opening team. Once they identify somebody in the new area, they train them to their standards. But Sammy is going to be here throughout the whole process till that person is identified and in place. So overall, this is, an application by a high-quality applicant who is experienced in this business, has an understanding of how to do this well, has identified Patriot Place as a place they want to be, and Foxborough as a town that fits with their ethic and a growth opportunity for them. We appreciate the time you have taken in review of this. We understand you have some questions, and we are happy to answer them at this point.
So, for me, this one's a little bit different just because I think, and I'm going to ask you guys to clarify, you're kind of relying a lot on the door zone for this one. With only 20 seats, this isn't like another restaurant at Patriot Place where people are coming in, sitting at tables. Kind of the premise for this is mostly kind of grab and go Dora zone stuff. Is that accurate?
Well, it is something that we look forward to taking advantage of.
Okay.
It is not, if that didn't exist, we would still be here.
Okay. That's helpful.
Locations in places that are similar or smaller size where you're not allowed to take out your food or beverage, well, food you can take, but beverages you're not allowed to take out. This is not like a lot of other restaurants in Patriot Place where you're going to sit for an extended period of time, have a meal and multiple drinks. Their model, and they can correct me if I'm misstating this, is a drink, a bite to eat, and then, so it's quick service, it's turnover.
Okay.
But it's not, even if takeout wasn't an option, we would still be here before you.
So this is in the old Alice space, right?
Yes.
Okay. I have some questions, but I'll let you guys go.
So just as a point of clarification, so there are still zones at Patriot Place where you can walk around with the alcohol that we did during COVID?
There are 4 zones.
Okay.
From essentially Renaissance Hotel down to the top of the grand stairs.
That was just to clarify that that's still in vogue. Okay.
And I actually kind of purposely checked out the Dora Zone stuff during Elton John, and I mean, you wouldn't even really know what was going on. It was a little bit of an older crowd, obviously, for that one.
Where are they going to be?
So there, Alice, let me see, I'll point it for you.
Here,
Alice is right
let's-
here,
Oh, okay, great.
next to, between Menchie's
If you-
and, like, Cupcake Charlie's. Yep.
Yes, it's between the Froyo Place and Cupcake Charlie's.
So the thing that jumped out at me when I reviewed the application was, number one, which you already, said, your address is Patriot Place, so it doesn't seem like you're here, permanently. You're more to get the restaurant up and going and then hire someone. And then, the 20 seats just jumped out at me because it is a smaller space. So, that's when I just wanted to understand how the Dora Zone fits in and how all that works. And obviously, if Chief Grace had any thoughts, I know he is here tonight.
I think there was one other question too, here was with respect to the workers' comp, and that comes from, there are 2 different corporate entities at play here. One is 190 Octane, which is the, sort of like the mothership, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that is-
Subsidiary.
Subsidiary.
Briggs is a
Horizontal.
subsidiary of.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
vice versa,
190.
okay.
Because then a different name showed up on the workers' comp, but
Right.
not anywhere else. I mean, I
Right.
didn't go back and like
It's
look
all
at
the
your
same
corporation
company.
filings online. but-
So there's, there are no bar seats in this restaurant, so and if, once they're through with the building department or whatever, if there's ability to put 30 seats, they'll put 30 seats in
Okay.
there. They just arbitrarily came up with the thought that, based on the size of this, that it would be 20 seats, so it's not 100%
So all
set
table
yet.
seating.
Yeah, yes, and.
No
just-
bars.
Yeah, and just to really tap quickly on the workers' comp, all employees are hired by Briggs. That's why, if in the corporate structure, it's, 190 Octane and then 190 Octane Patriot Place, but all employees, Paul and Sammy both, are, up and down the whole way, are Briggs employees who work for, so that's why the workers' comp is in that different name.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
So through the chair, is this a sample menu or is this the menu?
This will likely be the menu. You know,
Okay.
we'll still have, we
It's
get
gonna be
food.
small.
Yeah, we get food through Cisco systems, and so we'll work to see what our supplier can provide us. But this generally is what we were able to vet with them, which we'd be able to have here. So the menu may not look exactly like it, but it's essentially in final form now.
Okay.
So going off Doc's comment, that's the first, so first of all, I'm a bartender, I'm a server for many, many years, so, and I support good service of alcohol. What struck me a little bit was that there really wasn't much food, and I feel like usually when we're giving a full liquor license, it's really more for a restaurant rather than just be, this, when I look at this, it seems like more of alcohol service than food service. So that's the only concerns I have, and I'm sure you guys do a great job. But is, you know, once you're open, is there going to be a more extensive drink list? Or do you think like what you see here is what you get?
Pretty much what you see here is what you'll
Okay.
get. So if you look at what our floor plan looks like, we're going to have 6 frozen beverage machines, because that's kind of what fits in.
Like the wall?
Yeah. the
Okay.
wall.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you go to the plan on the bottom row where Tom has the mouse, those are the frozen beverage machines. You know, beer and another product will be available and essentially on a trough or an ice chest, you know, near the front of the premises. And so and we don't offer other distilled spirits other than our
Just
frozen
that-
cocktails.
Okay.
So you can't get a Manhattan, you can't get a
Yeah.
gin and tonic. Like, we specialize in, you know, frozen daiquiris and frozen alcoholic beverages, and so that's the only distilled spirits that you'll get at our premises. So generally what you see there, I mean, our flavors may change depending on, you know, what's popular in the market, but the amount of what we're selling is that's it, that's what it's gonna be.
Okay, yeah, because you can't, you know, we always throw this little tag with the food coming in with the alcohol, and you can't force anybody to order something to eat. They're gonna come in and they'll go with the menu. So this really could be people just coming in to get one of your specialty drinks, maybe staying there, maybe heading outside. Yeah, I mean, I'm not against it by any means, so I don't want to come across I'm against it, just as our doing our due diligence with you know, just with the service of alcohol and selling of alcohol and the tie-in with the food, I would, you know, and it seems like you guys have an extensive background in over-serving and carding and whatnot. So, yeah, it is a little different than what we've gotten in the past.
And to me, because like you said, it takes a while to drink a frozen drink. Like,
Yeah.
to me, it's like, I'm thinking of, you know, you're at Foxwoods or Mohegan, those like casinos around here. You know, it's the kind of thing like you go by a wall, you grab one, and you keep walking. So that's why in my mind, the Dora Zone came up so much. And when this originally came up, it was kind of 2 areas. Now it looks like it's kind of everything. Because I imagine most people at a place, like, yes, people will probably sit down, but people will probably grab those and go, you know, walk around or go listen to a band or, you know, whatever it may be. So that's why I just want to really understand the Dora Zone stuff, because even what we have mentions a lot of only Zone 1 and Zone 2. This one's in Zone 3. How does it work across zones? So, you know, a lot of my questions go to the Dora stuff, which is newer for all of us, you know,
Yeah.
since the pandemic.
Yeah.
I will say with the, you know, with the idea of that somebody might grab a drink to go, they also, if in order to walk out that door with it, they do have to have food.
Yes.
So, you know, it's not just going to be somebody grabbing a drink to go.
Requirement.
Oh,
Requirement.
yeah, I wasn't 100%
That's the Dora
sure.
requirement.
Oh, the
not-
door,
yeah.
that's the door, okay. Okay.
Well,
So-
any cocktails to go.
Because this is,
Any
this is still
restaurant
under COVID.
has to be food with that.
Yeah.
So no restaurant can sell cocktails to go without a food order.
So let's say the state of Massachusetts doesn't, you know, keep extending this to-go alcohol. There's no to-go, there's no
Correct.
Dora.
Right.
That all
Right.
ends. That's not even up to the town, that's a state thing, so.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we have operations like Philadelphia, for instance, you can't take alcohol to go. We have a sit-down restaurant. Myrtle Beach in South Carolina is the same thing. So, and we have operations addressing broad spectrums. You know, so our operations team is well versed in a place like, you know, Bourbon Street or Las Vegas, where people carry around on resort hotels or on Bourbon Street versus a sit-down restaurant concept. And we kind of see this as the best of both worlds with locations and really what we're looking for with our expansion. Our new CEO, he was the former former head of Burger King, the head of Tim Hortons. He has vast experience in quick service food service. And so we're looking at, an expansion in different markets like this, like outside of American Airlines Arena in Dallas, like Victory Park. We just opened up a location in Milwaukee, out in the Deer District, outside of the Bucks Arena. We're looking at various locations in shopping malls and food courts. So it's not so much, the brand, it kind of is what it is in certain locations, but the expansion of the brand is becoming something much different, and I think this will be really a precursor to what we're looking at, and we're really excited to be able to kick that off here in
Yeah, for me,
Foxborough.
this looks great, like your drink menu. I just want to make sure we're giving a full alcohol license. That's why I think we're grinding you a little bit, just to be like,
Yeah.
okay, so we look at this, and then all of a sudden, it's like you said, martinis, Manhattans, or whatever,
I don't want
so,
that.
yeah, yeah.
This
Yeah.
this is much simpler than learning
Yeah.
how to
Did
do
you
all
have any
that.
questions, Seth?
So the food ordering helps, sort of process. It's definitely not Cheesecake Factory with a million things on the menu. So
I
it's
still
pretty
don't know how
straightforward.
they do that.
I know, yeah, right? One chef. But yeah, I'm actually pretty comfortable with the concept and, tip certification. And so and Chief Grace, I think, has reviewed this.
Chief, can you just come up and talk a little Dora to us?
Not the Explorer.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. This presentation by this team, I've seen before. We spent over an hour hammering out some questions that you have asked. I will tell you this operation is the term we will show. I'll discuss it as low intensity compared to what we're used to at Patriot Place. It's a small venue on a footprint size. The amount of people coming and going will be smaller than what we're used to up at Patriot Place. We have some large venues that have the same option to use under DORA. The DORA project this year has been a success. We have had no issues whatsoever. With that, we do have police up there on the high use times during Saturday and Sunday. The operation lieutenants who are working that have had no issues. They're monitoring it. Also, we do live in New England, so we are challenged with the weather. So DORA has limitations in general. So obviously this time of year, the last couple of months, we hope the businesses thrive in that model. But as it gets colder, we definitely see a decreased amount of, and I think we'll see more people sitting inside. And again, on a lighter note, Brian early sent me the menu. It was about 1:30 in the afternoon. I haven't even had breakfast or lunch, and he described all the
busy
drinks. I'm
afternoon
like, he's killing me. They sounded pretty good. But again, I just want the board to know that this isn't an operation that I foresee going out of control and we having issues. Honestly, if you guys walk around with Patriot Place, the customers, these drinks are actually going to stand out.
Right.
They're going to be unique. We're going to know exactly where they came from. So if we have an issue, we're going to know exactly where to go back to. So, and again, we do have all of these regulations within the town and within the state. So I think we're pretty comfortable from the law enforcement side of enforcing the town bylaws on this.
Yeah, it's just different, totally different concepts, so forgive all the questions, it's just, we're here to.
We're here to
ask
answer
these,
them.
so.
That's no problem.
Any other questions?
I don't think so, but don't go far on the next one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And when are you thinking of opening? I know we will not hold you to that, but
Yeah, I think ideally for us, we'd like to open before this year to enjoy some of the New England Patriots action, right?
okay. No further questions from me? Anyone else on the board? No? All right, so it is a public hearing. Is there anyone here from the audience with any comments on this application? All right, hearing none, I think we can take a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I think we're ready for the next two as well.
Motion to approve an on-premise annual all alcohol license for 1890 Octane Patriot Place LLC, doing business as Fat Tuesday.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve a common victualler and 7-day entertainment license for 190 Octane Patriot Place LLC, doing business as Fat Tuesday.
Second.
Any further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Welcome to town. We'll probably see you back here when you do that change of manager then.
Absolutely.
All right,
We'll see you in
best
a
of luck.
couple months.
Thank you so
Okay, thank you.
And I'll see you right now.
Right.
It was very nice letting your associate
Yeah, assistant.
learn how to,
Assistant,
You know,
yeah.
assist, learn the ropes a little
He's a
bit.
little rough on this, on the, some of it, but he's getting some more practice now, so.
Need some more homework.
All right, so I think we have some of the same team, aside from the applicant, on the next one, which is Crazy Axes. So you may recall, Crazy Axes was actually just in here recently, so we do have another public hearing notice on this modification, just while the group comes up to the table. Dennis?
The Board of Selectmen, acting as the local licensing authority pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 138, will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, September 13th, 2022, beginning at 7:15 PM in the Gala Meeting Room, Town Hall, 40 South Street, Foxborough, Mass., on the application of an alteration of premises for an on-premises annual all-alcohol restaurant license for Crazy Axes Foxborough LLC, doing business as Crazy Axes, 202 Patriots Place, Foxborough, Mass. Manager Adam Oliveira. All interest parties are welcome to attend.
All right, great. You introduced yourself, so we'll go with the new team members.
Yeah, I'll let them introduce themselves.
Yeah.
My name is Alicia Kulikowski.
I'm my sister's business partner. My name is David. I was here for the last meeting. So.
Yep, and David joined us last time. So we're here before you tonight to alter the premise you guys approved about a month ago to include what is known as a self-service tap wall. There was proposed a bar on the lower level that was specific to wine and malt beverages. In place of that, we're proposing to remove that, add some tables, and add what is the tap wall, and as shown in the presentation in front of you. Essentially what this is, and is a system like, most likely it's going to look more like the two on the right of the screen. These allow patrons the ability to select and pour themselves a measured amount of one of 8 beers, or possibly, depending on how the process goes and availability, maybe 1 or 2 wines to go along with it, while enjoying the premises in between or during their time at Crazy Axes. This system is going to be about 10 total taps. It's going to give, upon checking in, patrons are going to receive the option to get an RFID card individualized to them, which they can load with up to 2 pours per card per transaction. If the patron, so if they go through the process during their time, they make both of those pours, and they want to reload the card, they need to go back to a member of the staff who will reassess them, see if they are able, similar to a bartender when you go back to grab a drink, reassess them before the card is reloaded. That tap wall that we mentioned will be monitored at all times by what is referred to as a tap master. Somebody will be standing essentially right next to it, monitoring patrons as they come up to pour themselves a drink. Busier times, as it's 10 taps, there will be 2, one monitoring half of each. Like every member of staff, as we presented last time, those tap masters will be tip certified. As I mentioned, they will assess every patron as they walk up, make sure that they are, able to pour themselves a drink. They will also confirm that those patrons are of legal drinking age, as we spoke about last time, and as it's further detailed in the security plan that was the same security plan as we presented last time. It's just reiterated further on in the presentation. Any patron, any thrower will receive a band. Under 21 will receive one color band. Anyone over 21 will receive a different color band. Those tap masters will assure that the person going up to pour a drink will have the right color band. If there's any question, they will reassess, re-ID, recheck, make sure that that person is legal to be drinking the alcohol. As mentioned before, there's copious amounts of staff on the floor, coaches, supervisors, so they'll be monitoring and making sure there's no one handing off beverages, the same as they would be whether it was a regular bar on a level that is honestly more than most bars I've ever worked in. And as discussed, the use of this tap wall will actually lead patrons to a higher level of scrutiny. They will, we're going to watch them walk up to the wall, figure out how to use the RFID chip, figure out which drink they want, figure out how to pour themselves that drink, and then, walk away from the wall. So there will be a great level of scrutiny on every patron as they come up to use that wall to make sure that they are still safe to be consuming beverages. There's also, there are benefits to the wall in and of itself from a business perspective, but also we know, anybody using that card, we know what they had to drink, when they had to drink it. It is great for a ongoing tracking of who has had what when. And I can go through this security plan again if you would like, but as it was presented last month, and you have it in front of you, the board has, I'm sure, questions, and we are happy to answer them, but I don't think you need me to go through this again at this point.
Just one more highlight is that in each lane or throwing area, there will be a coach. So, and that coach will also be tips trained. So not only is there scrutiny when they're getting the beer, there'll be scrutiny when they go back to their throwing area. So as Tom said, this will be a much higher level of scrutiny than a normal bar, where there might be 2 or 3 people deep and people coming up and going away. So this is one of the reasons, and we think it's a good business reason. We think it's something different that people will enjoy pouring their own beer or whatever. So.
And did I hear you say that bar is gone now? I'm just trying to follow the drawing. So,
Yeah,
like the hard alcohol bar is gone?
No, we proposed originally 2 bars one on the lower level, which is where most of the lanes are.
No hard alcohol down
That
there?
was no hard alcohol. No hard alcohol, just to reiterate, there's no hard alcohol allowed on that level, period.
Okay, thank you.
So we have proposed to remove that bar that would only serve wine and malt beverages, replace it with this tap wall system. The bar on the upper level, which does, you can, when you're not throwing, you can go upstairs, have a meal, have, the martini and the Manhattans. Our last presentation you can't get at, you can come down here and get that, sit upstairs, enjoy that upstairs, but you can't have that. That wouldn't be on the lower level at all.
Okay, so
that bar is still there.
You can't bring spirits downstairs.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna have questions. First of all, I won't have a job if all the bars start putting this in. But, so, I think actually the first question in my head, but then I think you answered it. So the card will read, so you said they can load 2 drinks.
Yep.
So when they go back, you guys will be able to see what has been loaded the whole time.
And when
Right,
they
and-
Why I asked that is
when
because.
they poured it, yeah. So-
Okay, yeah, because obviously, it happens all the time when you're even just pouring, someone comes up and they seem absolutely fine, and all of a sudden, that last drink is the one that puts them cuckoo.
Yep.
So you'll see each one.
Yep.
The other question is, where you're saying there's no hard liquor on that floor,
Period, yep.
is there a way other than, and I guess it doesn't matter, because if you are somewhere where you can buy alcohol, you can go to one bartender, you can go to another bartender, so the bartender's not always gonna know what you've consumed. But, so if you have 2 different floors, so people can go up and down though, so they maybe could be upstairs and have 2 hard liquor drinks, and maybe they've been downstairs and had 4 beers. So the card doesn't help at all,
The card only works on the tap wall.
just for the tap.
Like any other establishment, everybody's assessed every time they go to order a drink, whether it's the tap master at the tap wall, a bartender on the upstairs bar, service staff if they're on the upper level. Anytime you order a drink, you're assessed. Continuously while you're in the lanes, you're being assessed by the coach and the supervisors. So there is a large number of staff who will be there to watch. So, we want to make sure nobody ever gets to that one too many, and we're going to do everything we can to prevent that, and that's what, you know, so we're going to make sure that somebody is always checking to make sure that nobody is, you know, getting to that point. And if they get to that point, they're done. You know, we have no problem, you know, we've had long conversations with David about this. He understands that, you know, there's no real benefit to getting to that. There's no benefit, period. There's no, to getting to that point, and it's not worth it.
No.
So, just in legal fees.
Yeah, well, and you know something too, I mean, that's the thing, if this is what's being offered now in establishments, I'm sure it's been tested. I mean, for the most part, I think anything that ever comes before us that's up in Patriot Place, the last thing they want up there is to have any issues with over-serving or fines or people losing, you know, having their license taken away or suspended, so it's pretty cool, pretty interesting.
It is. I'm actually looking forward to it.
I just had a question in general. How has your safety record been in other establishments? Do you have that data at all?
No, we don't.
I think they had a BYOB, right? Your
Yes, our
experience.
current
I'm sorry,
location is
they're-
BYOB.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
So I thought you meant this system. I apologize. Yeah, no, they have BYOB in their current Hanover location. They've had exactly zero incidents.
And there are tap walls in Massachusetts.
Yes.
We're not, we wouldn't be the first.
No, you would not.
Madam
They
Chair,
would- yeah, no.
we actually spent some time with this establishment, along with the police chief and Brian Early. We had a conversation that lasted a good hour and a half one day, going over these very issues to make sure that they anticipated, they were prepared for the questions that you would all have. And we left the meeting feeling that we weren't ready because the chief wanted to do some more additional checking on that, and the chief can certainly speak for himself, but the general consensus of what he said was that he did some serious checking, found out that this is actually a better system than actual in-person serving, because of the way the restrictions and controls on it are so unique that it would be difficult to get by into a situation where you'd be overserved without somebody seeing you and observing you and allowing you to do that.
Does the board mind if I just bring Chief Grace up? I would like to hear from him. Obviously, we want to hear from you.
I would just add
Oh,
that,
good,
like,
sorry.
in theory, there's less incentive to overserve because you're not a bartender who's making tips on each drink, right? I mean,
Right.
That's right.
And with the labor shortage, I mean, it is kind of interesting, you know.
It is.
We need bartenders, but.
Still need a
The reality is, you know, it's tough, so.
All right, I'll be frank, the first time I heard this, that's why we're here now, because I had to kind of pump the brakes on it. Because they had done all their homework, but initially something this new had a lot of questions. So my biggest concern was what is happening in the Commonwealth of Mass. And Ted Mahoney is the chief investigator for the ABCC, who I contact with on a regular basis. There's about 6 of these throughout the state. And he says, yes, they're legal. Yes, we have the ability to enforce liquor regulations, and no, there have been no problems. So with that was an excellent starting point. And then I believe council and some other people have taken my talking points, but I will regress a little bit, is I broke down the process of alcohol service. And I think we can all say, okay, when you're in a crowded bar and it's 3 people deep and the bartender is taking orders and someone orders a beer and they reach over, the bartender is not observing that person anymore. They took the order, they have now left, they have to go get the drink, then come back, collect the money, and that's it. That interaction, on a busy night, you would know you got to go as fast as you can. You do your best, okay? And the people are processing that. This, and I won't use the standard as a field sobriety test, is actually really testing the person's ability to, 1, observe the coordination, and 2, actual follow directions. Okay? So from an enforcement ability, if the police come in and they're doing some observations, which we do in all the bars, we literally can stand back and watch someone go for it. They literally have to they got to walk the plank.
Yeah.
Order their drink, pour their drink, and then go back to their seat. So it will be extremely noticeable if someone's like unsteady walking. I mean, now they got to carry the drink and not spill it. I mean, there's a lot of parts to this that, and the team did assure me that they're actually going to have someone at the tap wall observing at all times. Very important. Secondly, they have to go to another person who is tip certified to re-up the card. So, like everybody said, it's almost like a double check system. So, with that, I feel confident that, this is, we seem to be a place where we come up with new ideas. Brian Early definitely brings some creative things to us that challenge us a little bit, but, give it a little time, think about it. Will it work? We're going to find out, but I'm pretty confident that we have all the checks and balances from the town's perspective to deal with any violations.
Great.
Any other questions?
None from me. Any from the board? No. Any other questions from the board about anything else related to the application aside from Chief Grace's commentary? No? All right. Since this is a public hearing, anyone here from the public here about this application? All right, there being no questions, I think we're probably ready for a motion.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Motion to approve the alteration of premises application for Crazy Axes LLC.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? And we do just need to know, when do you guys think, I know we asked you last time, it's been a month. What are you thinking?
Stretched out a little bit, hopefully right after the Thanksgiving holiday.
Okay.
Is what we're shooting for now.
All right, cool. Great.
Excellent.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, and then last up, we have Helix eSports in here. And we see these extensions of alcohol service quite often. So this is to allow restaurants to open earlier than the normal 11 o'clock time. And, you'll see these through action items when it's a restaurant that we've seen before, where we haven't seen Helix eSports before. And just to remind everyone, that is in the old Showcase Live spot. We just wanted to have someone come in. I don't know if does Brian still
Mr.
here?
Beck, can you put on Jeffrey for
Oh, he's on,
He's
okay.
on Zoom.
Okay, great.
Just give Mr. Beck a minute.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to join through Zoom. Can everybody hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you guys. Thank you. We were just looking to get approval to open at 10 a.m. for just a home Patriot games for the 2022 season. So we have a kind of a unique concept. We have the gaming center inside of what used to be Showcase Live. And then we also have a food service concept. With us opening early, I did kind of look up and learn a recipe to be able to offer like a breakfast pizza on top of our regular menu to just try to give someone, a different option that isn't like, a pizza or wings or sandwiches at that early. And I've been working with Performance Food Group, who's our food provider, to also bring in some like bacon, egg, and cheese and sausage, egg, and cheese sandwiches.
Okay, great. So it sounds like you have to have food.
Yep.
And don't sleep on the Helix Pizza and Wings. My son loves to go there, and the pizza's actually really, really good. So if you haven't tried
I love
it.
to hear that because, being inside of a gaming center, people kind of just tie me into just like a snack bar, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I've put a lot of work into our food. The wings are something special. They fall right off the bone. I think it's some of the best food around. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right, so any questions from the board? So these are just for the home games like we see. And then if you do this going forward in the future, we won't make you come in, but just where you hadn't before, we wanted to just meet you and talk about it and make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I guess the only, when I first read it, I was a little bit like, wait a minute here, kind of, because like, other than looking at, going online and looking at your website, it just looked like this tiny little place to go get food, and, me with the alcohol and the food.
Oh, it's giant, yeah.
So, I would say, the only question I had was, obviously, we haven't had an actual game yet. What did you see from the 2 preseason games? Are your regular customers coming up? I mean, a lot of times people don't go anywhere near that area during a concert or something, and where you're not really tied to, let's go in and have something to eat before the concert or before the game. Did you see your regular customers still coming, or did you, or maybe not even regular customers, did you get a good group of people coming in on the 2 preseason games? Or the concerts?
Sorry. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think we've learned that on, event or concert days, the only really way to monetize those days are going after the customers who are going to the game or going to the concert. So I would say 99% of the customers through the door on game days or concert days are new customers. Because like you said, if you're from Foxborough or the surrounding areas, you've learned, just stay away unless you're going. But yeah, we're starting to, try to do activations around getting our name known as a venue on property, to be. We've tried out, we had a band play for preseason game 1. We had a DJ play for game 2. 6 out of the 8 games this year are going to be at 1 p.m. So it's going to be interesting kind of testing, what kind of entertainment we want to bring in around these events. Because, a lot of people, based off of what I saw last year, are showing up between 11 and 12, and then they're kind of just rushing into the stadium. So our main grab is definitely the train, when the train gets off, and allowing those people to come into our store because, they get off on our side of the property. And they aren't the people who are coming with 24 packs of beer and, they don't have food that they brought with them. And we're kind of that last stop to, pop in with us and get some food or a drink before you go into the stadium and probably pay double, so.
And you probably haven't been in there because you don't have, well, I go in there with my son, but it still has the big showcase live bar. Like, there's a lot there, I think, to kind of take advantage of, on game day, so.
Yeah, because I just kind of felt that, that's why I wanted to ask, because I kind of felt like this, by us allowing them to serve early is because, they're restaurants and people come in, they want to have something to eat, they want to have a drink. We want people to still be successful. And that's why in my head I was like, oh, Stephanie, don't single him out because maybe he's not a restaurant, because we want you to be successful too. And we all know what, I work down the street from the stadium, so we close on game day now because, well, first of all, I'm going to the game, so I'm not there, but they don't even cover anybody because the locals just won't come near the place. So yes, we want you to be successful and grab whatever you can, even if it's not your normal capacity of people, whatever might bring them in is good for you. We want you to be successful.
Yeah, and you really do have a good spot to catch that train traffic,
He absolutely does.
Yeah, and COVID has hit us really hard over this last 3 years, as everybody, and these are finally some days just off of what we've seen off the last few days where it's kind of like a small win in the long 3 years that we've had, so we appreciate you guys considering. I thank you for, taking time to speak to me today. I'm happy to answer any other questions that anybody might have.
Any other questions from the board? No? Okay, great. I think we're ready for a motion.
Motion to approve the extended hours request for Helix eSports to begin serving at 10 a.m. on September 25th, October 10th, November 6th and 20th, and January 1st, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Thanks a lot. Good luck.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.
You too, thank you. All right, so up next we have the Foxborough Affordable Housing Trust. Hi, Paige. Hi, Linda. Mrs. Shea, I still feel weird calling you Linda.
Mrs. Shea is the new chairwoman of the
Welcome, Chairwoman.
Thank you. Housing Trust.
All right, great. So I know a little bit of the background on this just because we had to figure all this out. So I'll let you present to the board, and then if the board has any questions. And then I do think we have a motion if after the presentation we agree with what the trust has done to move forward.
Do you want me to go?
Yes, please.
Okay. We might have, do we have Betsy Collins on Zoom, do you know?
Yes.
Mike, okay. So in case there's any questions, we have members of the Walnut Street Joint Venture Team. That's the team selected by the Housing Authority to develop the Walnut Street property. But by way of background, we've all heard for years about the 16 acres at the corner of 140 and Walnut Street. The Housing Authority owns it. The only possible thing to be done on that property is affordable housing. It's deed restricted based on the giving of the property to the town. The Housing Authority's been working for a couple years now, or actually since 2013, I believe, but in earnest for the past couple years, and we've really gotten far. We now have a joint venture team on board. There have been some neighborhood meetings. As you know, the benefit to this project is it requires a signal of the intersection. And the only way right now to sort of compete for signal dollars is to have something like affordable housing. So the state, we are waiting to hear now whether the state is going to award us a MassWorks grant. So anyway, backing up, the team came to us a couple months ago and said that as part of their tax credit associated with the housing development, they require a local contribution. Typically, that's how you get better scoring. Obviously, we don't have to do it, but it will notch down our score as it is, or our competitiveness on an extremely competitive process quite a bit. And in fact, there's some language about that in the application that basically says that there should be some local contribution. They asked me if there was any funds available, and at first I was like, no, I mean, we don't have any money for that. That's not something, but then I remembered the Affordable Housing Trust. And what that is that was actually created back in 2014 when Chestnut Green was being developed. There was originally a proposal for affordable units in that development. And at the time, there were some challenges around, I think there was a bankruptcy with one of the developers and whatnot, so there were some real challenges. So Doug King requested that he be able to buy out the affordable units. So at that time, there was $320,000 put in this trust. So it's been sitting there for 8 years. We spent about $37,500 on some of the signal work on Walnut Street, the design work there. But basically, I've always said it's kind of too much money to waste and too little money to do anything with it. It's like $300,000 doesn't really go far, but you don't want to fritter it away. The only thing it can be used for is affordable housing. The Housing Trust met yesterday and did vote to support the requested allocation of $200,000. Basically, phase one would be divided into 2 applications to the state, and that has all to do with the amount they'll fund and the sweet spot for the number of units and whatnot. So the first 2 buildings would be one project, but they have to finance them separately. So it would be $100,000 for building 1 and $100,000 for building 2. The Housing Trust did vote 5-1 to support that yesterday, and then, but really it falls on this board to make the actual vote, just by the way of the regulations. So that's basically the overview. I don't know if you want to hear anything from the joint venture team, if you have, maybe more specifically if you have questions, but that's where we are right now. And we are hoping that, I will say that we've been told we'd check all the boxes. We applied last year for funding. We did not receive it. The Housing Authority got much further, brought on a team. We had the Lieutenant Governor out here a couple months ago, and they really assured us that this project is real. They're noticing it because it is 200 units. For the folks at home, it's 200 units. It's all senior housing, and every unit is affordable. It will be managed through the lottery system that the Foxborough Housing Authority runs. You know, it'll be just like one of their properties, although it will be owned and managed by the joint venture team that we learned yesterday. They've never sold one of their properties. They develop them and they own them, and they have been working together for years. So I think that's a good overview, and I'll open it up to questions.
I'll start. So where does the money come from? Where does that pot, is that, do we allocate that money like, you know, like?
She covered that.
You have $320,000 to start.
Yeah.
We've spent $37,500, so you have $282,500 sitting there since 2014.
Oh, no, I mean, where does that money come from? Where does the trust, like, where did that money come from?
From Doug King buying out the affordable units at Chestnut
At the
Green.
state
It was
hospital back-
It was a
Okay.
one-time.
Yeah, okay.
One-time thing.
Yeah, okay. And the only, I guess, other question, I mean, I would have is, do you feel there's anything that you guys might have, Housing Authority might have coming up in the future that that money might go better to, or no?
Well, the housing,
Yeah.
oh, is Greg on here? I can let Greg answer that.
I asked the same question.
Thank you. Right now, Housing Authority hasn't built anything in like 20 years. So this is a big development for us. 200 units of senior affordable housing is what we've been focusing on. We have some smaller sites, obviously, the site that we have on Centennial we're trying to figure out what to do with that, but nothing in comparison can leverage to try to get 200 units.
All right, and the
one
last
thing-
question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Greg.
One thing I just wanted to bring up is that part of our negotiations with the development team is 70% local preference for the first time that these units are being leased. So that to us is a huge thing that we have a large number of people on our waiting list here in Foxborough, and this would put a huge dent in that waiting list.
Yeah, we heard yesterday there's 162 local residents on the list, and I think it was, what, 120?
22
22
were
or 60.
seniors, 60 plus, and 40 were non-elderly disabled.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because I think at one meeting, Greg, it might have been you that said, maybe like at the initial opening, that you might be able to request up to 70% of it being local people, the initial in. Once people pass, have moved or whatever, then all bets are off. It's just a state kind of state.
But I will say, something that Betsy told us yesterday is that it's a lottery system, so even though we have 162, they don't automatically get a unit. They have to enter the lottery and be chosen, based on the criteria.
But the benefit is it'll be
70%,
weighted
right,
70%
right.
to local. So
Yeah.
the first round is, to your point,
Yeah.
the first round is heavily weighted towards the locals.
Right.
And after that, it does go down, and gets more fair, shall we say, to the rest of the folk. But like Greg says, they don't see a lot of turnover in these units, and that's why, people, when they get this housing and senior housing, they don't leave, unless, obviously,
Yeah.
they try not to leave.
Yeah.
And I think two other
they
key
leave.
points.
Unless they leave, right.
Yeah, unless they depart,
Yeah, exactly.
But two other important points that I know Greg would want to make is that through this, two benefits to the community, because we talk about, well, why would we contribute this? In addition to getting needed housing, is the two benefits are they will be paying lease payments to the housing authority, which will actually allow them. They haven't had any funds to upgrade or do maintenance or anything on their existing units. So by getting lease payments for every built unit, they will start to have some income to pay for some of these repairs. And secondly, because this is a private development team, it will be taxed. So we will get the tax revenue from this development project. So the town will see some cost, some benefits to this project financially.
Yeah. So then my last question was, so obviously it wasn't unanimous. I'm not asking who didn't support it or anything like that, but what in your deliberations and your talks, why, you don't have to list a whole bunch of stuff, but what made somebody not want to support it? What might have been a concern to not use the money?
Well, I remember the quote.
Yeah.
I remember the quote. It was not fiduciarily responsible, and felt it was arbitrary, and that it should only be 100,000, not 200,000.
And that the money should be then replaced.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I was just wondering if there was any real,
No. It was pretty strong in
Yeah.
one, there was one
Yeah,
person
I mean,
who-
obviously 5-1,
Yeah.
you guys were.
Yeah, and just to point out, like, our $100,000 or $200,000 contribution is, I don't know,
Pennies.
it's like a drop in the bucket
Right.
for what this
$94
project is gonna
million.
cost, but it checks the box that we are making a local contribution without us having to go, into other funds that we don't have, and these funds kind of have been sitting here for this exact purpose. I don't know that I would feel we would have to replenish them, because it was kind of like a one-time, like, the trust was set up when that contribution was made for that purpose.
Yeah.
So,
So the
if
money's
we were
gonna
to
just be
spend this, we
sitting
could
there,
even,
yeah.
this trust would kind
And we
of
were
go
bought
there.
out of a lot fewer than 200 units. Like the project over at Chestnut Green, I can't remember the number of units, but it was much less than 200 units. So it's kind of like leveraging those units for 200 of, all affordable.
Yeah, and one comment, I stepped in for Leah because Leah was sick. I joined Bill and Paige when the lieutenant governor came, and the impression I got, I mean, obviously, there's no guarantees if it's going to happen, but she seemed very impressed and, on what everybody's been doing to get that project up. And so, if this maybe does tip us a little.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus, I feel like it really goes to the goal of housing. I was on the housing production plan, and although we never finalized the plan, I feel like this was one of the things that, and Greg worked with us as well, to come up with some things that we should be working on to help the affordable piece that we don't have enough units
Right.
for.
Especially the
So-
seniors.
Right. So, you
Yeah,
know, I feel like
really
this is
heavily
very good.
supported.
Yeah.
It was almost like, it was a little controversial, as we know, the housing production plan, but this one was kind of
Was
like.
always
the-
supported.
The gimme on this
Right.
one. Especially too, I mean, we can't discount the signal. You know, as much as, I mean, with the seniors need housing, but this community needs a signal
signal,
there.
yeah.
And we're just not going to get that signal. I mean, maybe in 20, 30 years, you know, we'll eventually move up the state list, but at this point, it's kind of, you know, two birds. So it's really beneficial to the community in a couple different ways.
So to me, I mean, it's
Paige,
kind of a
also-
no-brainer that, like, you know, at first you might be like, whoa, does that make sense? But then once you kind of talk through it, the purpose of the money, where it's going to go, kind of what it will bring to the town, you know, in the future as far as taxes and lease payments to the housing authority to be able to do some upgrades and such, it just seems like a real win-win for this money.
Absolutely.
So the committee has met, they've made the recommendation, and now they're to us, you know, for the motion that appears in front of us, if it's something that we support to move forward. Any further discussion before we take a motion on this one? No? All right, great summary, guys.
All right, very good. Motion to conditionally commit $200,000, $100,000 for Building 1 and $100,000 for Building 2 from Foxborough Affordable Housing Trust to be used for the development of the Foxborough Housing Authority 16-acre Walnut Street site, creating a total of 141 senior apartments. The commitment of funds is contingent upon approval of all project funding, including funds requested by Building 1 and Building 2 in a one-stop application by the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development, period. Phase 2 of the project, not associated with this funding request, proposes 59 senior apartments to total 200 affordable senior apartments at full build.
Second.
All right, great. I already asked for further discussion where there is none. All those in favor? Great. All right,
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I know that your group had to get together quickly to kind of look at this, so I appreciate that as well.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good night.
Good night. All right, so we've got quite an audience here. I assume most of you guys are here for the next one, and it's exciting. So who's coming up to present? All right, so if you guys can come up, I think I know everyone, but if you guys can just introduce yourselves to everyone on the board, everyone at home, and tell us a little bit about this exciting project.
Hi, my name is Ken Carberry, and this is Jared Craig, and we are co-chairs of the Foxborough Cultural Council. And I'm sure most of you know our job at the Cultural Council is to annually spread out some money among art projects and for cultural benefit in the town of Foxborough. We get asked for about $60,000 or so dollars. We are given by the state about $6,000. We're actually up to $9,000 this year. So we decided we needed to do something more to help spread some more money in the arts community. And we had this idea to do a fundraiser and a public arts project at the same time. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. What we came up with was this idea of foxes, and I hope you all got this so you can look at it.
Yes.
Yeah. So some of the pieces right, that you're looking at would not necessarily be indicative of what the fox looks like. We're looking at something that local artists would decorate. So they would get a blank slate, which would be a fox, and we would hire local artists to decorate it, and then put it on public display. And after a period of time, we're thinking 2 years, that we would then take those back and auction them off for another part of the fundraiser. They would be sponsored. This is a major part of what we're looking to do, is get local businesses or organizations to help sponsor a fox. And so that's another way we can raise funds. And all that, of course, is so we can spend more money on other arts programs in the town. Jared?
Yep. So what I really feel strongly about as an artist is that there should be public art available to everyone. I'm sure your folks are probably aware of some of these projects that have happened in different cities and towns. You know, like the cow sculptures that were all over. Chicago was the first one that I was aware of when I was in college. Plymouth recently did one with lobsters and then again with scallops. And the woman who came up with this idea, Nicole Vachon Hanlon, has since moved out of town, but she had originally proposed the idea and brought it to us as a sort of special project for us to fund. And we quickly realized that the scope was much larger, but we all had really loved the project. So having, public art being able to be displayed, it becomes a talking point, it becomes a centerpiece. Paige Duncan, who I think just left, but I've been working with her on the beginning stages with the MR PAC and some other stakeholders in town about trying to create a cultural district downtown too, which is something the Mass Cultural Council, whom we serve at the pleasure of the select board, but we also report to the Mass Cultural Council, can designate certain sections of cities and towns, even multiple sections of towns, to become cultural districts. And so thinking about that and having this project in our back pocket, we were like, well, this makes that application a slam dunk home run, knock out of the park. We ideally, like I had mentioned Paige before, she had talked about invigorating the spokes of the common. And so having this sort of uptown area, this concentrated place where there are a lot of businesses, a lot of tourists, a good place to gather, this becomes a natural thing for people to, I think, talk about, to enjoy, and to hopefully promote some businesses too and get some foot traffic. And so I had a relationship with Cindy as well, so I reached out to her to ask what the Foxborough Common Business Collaborative would think about that. So she's here to speak on their behalf as well.
Hi. So yeah, I'm Cindy from Cindy's Diamond and Jewelry Gallery and Foxborough Common Business Collaborative, and we've been talking about doing some art projects in the Uptown area for some time now, probably since 2017 when we started the Foxborough Common Business Collaborative. And when the Foxborough Council came to us and we were talking about these foxes, and it's like, well, yeah, I was thinking these cute little things, and they're actually not so little. And so some of the things that I started thinking about is, where can we put them? What are they going to look like? And selfie station. You get these locations that people are going to go looking for them, and they're going to take their pictures with them, and they're going to post them. And then we got more people that are interested in the Uptown. So that, among some other things that we've talked about doing, I'll do a spoiler alert. We've been talking about doing some murals and some different businesses, and depending on who would be interested in that and how well it goes over. I think the foxes would be a great place to start. I can see a park bench with a fox and people taking pictures and having their coffee or whatever. I think it's a really great idea, especially seeing what the art will be from the different artists in the town.
Yeah, and so we have, because of the nature of what the Cultural Council does, we already have a whole process in place of how to vet proposals. So we'd seek out proposals from artists and make sure that it's, the vein of what we're looking for. We've also spoken to Chris Gallagher at the DPW to see if this is feasible. He tells us it is. And we started applying for a PIP grant, which we thought would take a little longer than it did. And we've been given the go-ahead from the partners in patriotism to, that was sort of the linchpin of all of this, is the Icon Poly is this group out of Nebraska that does this. They want a deposit before they'll start creating a model for us that we can then tweak and send out to artists to seek proposals. In order to do that, they want a pretty fair-sized chunk of money. So we were like, well, this PIP grant that's available to us seems like a great way to start before we go seeking businesses without, all the pieces in place. They've said, we love this idea, let's go for it. So with your permission, we'd love to go a little bit further, start getting these models made, start seeking sponsors, local businesses, as well as individuals and families who might be interested in, having their name on a plaque. And we have ideas of creating little maps so that you can get to a place, scan a QR code, and look on your phone, and here are the 5. It's about a 1.5 mile walk, and we're going to go to all the different places around the common and explore these statues, take selfies with them, post them to Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and hopefully drum up a little excitement for the Uptown area and the businesses that are around there as well.
We're hoping it's going to be fun. We think it is. Public art should involve families, children, all of us, and also be fun. And I think this project will do that. And also raise some money, ultimately, so that we can spend some more money on Foxborough-related art.
Yeah, like Cindy said, love murals.
Yes, murals.
I've already got all the spots picked out.
We're open to questions. If anybody has any questions about it?
I mean, I think it's great. Anything that drums traffic uptown, I'm really passionate about. I love the idea of art up there, connecting, with some of the younger generations with selfies and, just, I think everything about it's really, really great. I do notice historic. I count many of you over there. So I do want to just hear from them and, make sure everyone's on board. I think that's a big thing is we do all work really well as, different groups together, like you guys have collaborated right here, but it seems like a great idea.
I actually had experience working that one in Dedham. They had the bunnies.
Bunnies, yeah.
And so it was extraordinarily successful. They were able to sell them later on, and they commanded some pretty good money actually for them. So but I will tell you that it did exactly what you just talked about. And that was to create opportunities where people would stop, do selfies, and it became a real focal point. And they were very sensitized to the historical nature of Dedham as well. So there was lots of areas where they tried to, be very, try to enhance the experience so it didn't do anything to take away from the historical value. So I think that I can appreciate the Historical Commission's concerns in that respect. But I do think that the two can coexist. I do think that the experience that we had was very successful. So I do appreciate the thought.
Thanks.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board before we just ask to hear from historical?
Just curious, on the, sounds good, on the remote off chance that people struggle to look at these things on a regular basis, they just rather have them somewhere else or not here at all. What's the thought about that? If people really just tired of having, they look weird or whatever,
That could not possibly happen.
People deface it.
These are, the one thing is they are portable. They're not portable where you can put it under your arm and walk away.
Right.
Because they will be in concrete.
That's right.
But they can be taken on a hand truck or a forklift or something. So these are not permanent displays.
Yeah.
So if for whatever reason something needs to be moved, they can be moved. And of course, we work with you in that final step. This is our first step to start the ball rolling and actually order these, knowing that, with your blessing that we can go
The key
forward.
thing is that they're not permanent. They're meant to be temporary, to draw our attention for a limited period of time, and then you can go on to a different idea later on if you want. But it's intended to be a temporary thing.
You just said, as you have been investigating this idea, I heard you say deface. And we would hope people wouldn't, but we know that happens. Any history on other cities that have done this? I mean, have people,
We did talk to other cities and towns, and I got nothing, we really got nothing on that. I think for the most part, these were seen as just kind of fun.
Yeah.
And they're in public where it can be seen.
Yeah.
So I didn't get any of that feedback.
I did read one instance in Framingham where that did happen with the bees. I believe it was Framingham. But we would be required to get insurance for these. We'd make sure that they're kept up. That would be a part of our job as well, to make sure that, if something were to happen, that we're covered in that respect.
Obviously, we're in charge of these until, while they're up. So we make sure, and we've got a pretty active council.
Yeah, well, you hope it wouldn't happen, but
Right.
I didn't even think about the insurance, so,
Yeah.
I just thought in my head and said, oh my God, what if you guys go through all this and spend the money and then,
Unfortunately, it has happened in the
Yeah.
one occasion of, news searches that I could find, at least in Massachusetts, but we're prepared for that, and
Yeah.
hopefully that, at least in that community, it was like a rallying cry as well.
And our timeline is, we would like, and we think it's very possible, to put these up by Founder's Day next year. So that would be a time when people would be around the area and be able to experience the artwork.
And there is technology that can actually help police those as well
Yeah.
now with cameras.
Fair enough, yeah.
I think Dennis had something.
No, I just had a question. You have the PIP grant of $75.50, and you have the project and the timeline and everything, and an end date. Are there going to be sufficient funds to really do what you want to do here?
Well, to start, we have sufficient funds to start, which is ordering the first one. But the first five, obviously, we're going to out and fundraise. So that's our job. Once we get, if we get approval here, then we can go forward and talk to possible sponsors saying, this is happening. So, yeah, we also have a small amount of money. The state allows us a small percentage of money that we can keep for our own projects. So we have a couple of thousand there. We've got the 7,500 PIP grant. And our next step, if we get approval tonight, is to go forward and start talking to sponsors.
And historic. Want to come on up to the table and you guys, I know you probably don't want them on the common, right? But are you okay with them otherwise?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay, I know what you guys like.
So Mark Francis, Historical Commission. We like the project, as far as them spread all around town, we think it's great. We do not support putting one on the common itself. We'd like to keep the common not pristine, but, keep a certain awe and dignity for the common, and we've resisted in the past electronic lights and signs and that kind of thing. So we're trying to keep it the way it's been. It's the one spot in town with a building going on, et cetera. And we think there's enough other commercial and public spots around town to put 5 in some other places. It shouldn't be a problem. So other than that, we're fine.
All right, sounds like a good balance. Reasonable to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to discuss. I don't know if there's a process in place to decide where they go, but I know as far as private places, if a private business wanted on their property, would the town have an issue with that? Or what's the process for getting public
If
spaces?
it's on private property, it's not something the board would be involved in. It's strictly public space.
Okay.
No.
And I think you'd work with the town manager's office and probably the DPW on, things we wouldn't even think of probably that they think of as far as plowing or, whatever it may be.
Right.
To make sure we pick the right spots.
We did have a meeting with Chris, and he was very much for the project, it seemed. Barring the common, I think that would be the best place for it, because that's obviously used by the people, it's the common place, but barring that, I don't know, maybe in front of town hall,
Yeah.
So.
All right, I think we have a good idea of the project. We're ready for a motion.
Motion to support the Foxborough Cultural Council Art Installation Project as proposed and coordinate with the Town Manager's Office and DPW Director of Installation on public property.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Thanks so
All right,
much.
great. We're excited to hear more about it, so keep us posted. Oh,
Madam Chair,
sorry.
before Mr. Ford leaves, we want to recognize for the work that he's done for these pictures.
Oh, yes, Mr. Ford.
Yeah.
So we talked about all these pictures. Here is the artist
Artist
himself
in the room, so.
behind us, so thank
His
you for
public-
donating those.
This is public art, and it's
Yeah, they look
truest
beautiful.
form, right? So there you go, so.
They look beautiful.
Over a period of maybe 10 years or more. They were on display at the Maryland Rodman Performing Arts Center for last summer for a month. Then they were on display at the Boyd Library for 2 months at the end of last year. And then I had them at home, and I didn't know what to do with them all. And I started talking with Mr. Keegan. And gradually we worked out a deal that I would donate these to the town, no charge, and he would decide where he wanted to display them. And they ended up in here, which is a good place.
Yeah, they found a perfect home.
Yeah. So thank you for accepting my offer.
Thank you for the gracious gift.
Thanks for doing it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Tim.
All right, great. So moving right along, we're a little bit behind schedule, so we're going to see if we can make up some time. Next is the special meeting town warrant. So after much discussion on what the best date is for town meeting, I think we've all landed on December 5th. Bob, he's got a lot of work to do with the election and looking at, following the election, then you kind of get into Thanksgiving holidays and what made the most sense. So most of the work falls really on Bob's back. So I think this date works best. We support what works best for him. And we are here to open the warrant, and then I think we'll probably see a draft warrant, which, what are we looking at now, like 5 to 7 articles?
Yeah, that's.
7? Okay. So we'll see a draft warrant probably next meeting. So this is just to open the warrant for the December 5th, which is the date now, town meeting. Any questions before we comment on that? I think that's it. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Sure.
Okay. So I think we're ready for a motion on that one.
Okay. Motion to open the special town meeting warrant for the December 5th, 2022 special town meeting.
Second.
All right, and just under further discussion, if we could just have the updated timeline for that too, just because it's a little bit different than normal, make sure we all kind of understand dates when we look at the next version of the warrant, so. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Our 8 o'clock item, one-day liquor license approval change. So Bill and I had been discussing this, and, this really happened I forget if it was in July or August.
Yeah.
But, we only had one meeting, and one of the applicants, who has a great history and track record, had came to us for a one-day liquor license. And, we didn't have a meeting between now and then, although they were in the 2-week window. Things come up. Do we want to allow Bill, in that type of situation where something has come up, the board doesn't have a meeting between now and then to be able to approve these? And the only other caveat is, the burden is still on the applicant to make sure they do this in time. This isn't meant so that, we can have like last minute changes. This is really to be used, if an applicant has been successful in the last 12 months and we don't have a meeting scheduled, Bill would talk to the chair and make them aware that the application has come in and allow us to grant him the authority to do these 1 days if need be.
Yeah, I would also go so far as to say that I would also notify the board that I've been requested to do this as well, prior to me doing it, so in case there's any questions.
So it's really just emergency situations if, there's a holiday or something comes about. Any concerns or questions with?
I myself don't really like it. I just feel like we are the licensing board. I get why, and I understand it's not going to be everyone, but I also feel like, summertime, we maybe not meeting as much, but usually if you're coming before the board to get one, I would think that it's something that's, is coming up, I don't know. I just think we are the licensing board and should stick to us. It has nothing to do with Bill or anybody else. I just kind of feel like that falls under our perimeter. And do we open a public hearing?
No,
For that, no, not for the 1 days, okay. But, yeah, I just think it's our job and we should do it. That's
Yeah, I mean,
all.
it's not one I feel like super passionately about either way. I think that's why
Yeah.
we just wanted to have the discussion with the board, because we did have an example in the summer where, I forget if it was a concert that came up or something had come up, and it was someone who,
It was a block party, wasn't it?
no, it was actually, I think it was Acholitos. But she's really good, and it was just like, a mistake, and I forget what we ended up doing, but
Was it like for one of the preseason games or something?
yeah, it was just, it was exactly, I think that's
Yeah.
exactly what it
Yeah.
was. So it's really
I was trying to think
just
what would
meant
be
to be like
summer.
emergency situations we can always get together and hold a special meeting, but let's be, it's hard to do that sometimes to
Or
get the board together.
maybe just do a Zoom meeting or something like that. I get it, and I would hate to see anybody not be able to get it. I guess maybe I just feel like,
Stephanie, if it
is
helps,
a
the
licensing board.
chances, the times that this has happened has been very, very limited. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking maybe 2
Yeah.
or 3 at the most.
Well, and the other
It's
thing-
very, very limited.
Yeah, the other thing is too, I was funny today, I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, why would we do that, But then I also wonder if, well, I'm sure you guys must have researched this, is that even allowed by law? I was running by Jimmy, because he's had liquor licenses in his name. He said his gut feeling would be no, but with that being said, he wasn't 100% sure if, if we're the licensing board, it has to go through us. And the other thing I was thinking about is, most times, if you've done this before and things have gone well, and it will continue, what if it doesn't? Where does the responsibility go back to? Does it go back to Bill because he okayed it? Does it come back to us, or,
It comes back to the town, period, but
Yeah.
I
Either
think
way.
Yeah.
but the answer to your question is that, I would approve the license and then have it confirmed again at the next board
Yeah, so we wouldn't
Yeah.
change anything, like any
Right.
one-day licenses would still come to us.
Right. Ultimately, the license still will be confirmed by you.
Yeah, but so.
But there's one more caveat. Bill's not going to be here in a few months. So, we're talking about potentially changing our policy
yeah,
for
that's a
maybe
good
a
point.
new town manager.
That's a good point.
I think that's something we should put off.
Okay, that's a good point.
That's
Yeah.
a good point. Well, you know what, not even just that, maybe whether the new town manager wants to or not, but will he, I mean, obviously Bill's been here a long time. Bill knows the history of a lot of these people that are coming before, and a new
Right.
town manager.
I would say yes to Bill.
Yeah.
I don't know who the next person's going to be.
Yeah.
So I personally, I think it's a great discussion, but I think I'd like to wait.
Okay, want to table it?
Yeah.
Table it? Okay, great. That's what
Okay.
the discussion's for. Okay.
Thanks.
All right, town manager search screening committee. So we had a meeting, remind me, I think it was like August 16th or 24th?
22nd.
22nd, okay. That was specifically about the town manager search committee. And I did talk with Bernie today, earlier. He just happened to reach out to me and wanted to talk about what's to come next. And just to give you guys an idea, you will be hearing from him or someone on his team probably by the end of the week to schedule a remote meeting with each of you individually, just to talk about, you know, what you're looking for. They'll interview you. I don't even know exactly what it's going to entail, but they'll interview you. And they'll also be reaching out to the department heads to kind of do the same, probably by the end of the week. I don't know what the timeline will look to get the feedback back or, you know, get the meeting scheduled, but I assume we're looking to get it done as soon as we can. And then also he had asked me about, do we want to do like a community survey? And I had told him, I think culturally, we definitely want to do some kind of forum or survey. You know, there's definitely pluses and minuses for each. I think after talking to him, leaning a little bit more towards the survey, you know, and making sure people have to put in an email address, so it's, you know, people from town. And it just allows them to kind of summarize things for us a little bit better too. So, you know, next steps that are coming, and then just wanted to get the board's reaction. I assume we want to have a community survey in our timeline as well. Agree?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do.
Then that gives the community the
Voice,
feel
yeah.
that they've
Yeah.
at least, good or bad, they've
Exactly.
voiced their opinion.
Exactly. So our action tonight here is we do have to appoint a town manager search screening committee. Now, just to clarify, this group will not be picking the next town manager. They are simply, you know, narrowing the pool for the ultimate responsibility for the Board of Selectmen to select the next town manager. So they did think that 5 to 7 people was the right number to have on this committee if we were going to have one. We did receive 8 applicants, and I'm thrilled that we have 8 applicants, but unfortunately, he does feel that the number of 8, you know, being the odd number, being an even number, and just, you know, trying to schedule 8 people is tough. So unfortunately, we have 8 qualified applicants, but we do have to narrow this down.
Who's missing? I only count 7.
1,
Oh, what's the page,
2,
Duncan?
3, 4,
1, 2,
5.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I apologize.
Yeah, yeah.
And
If somebody's
there
on
was
the
9
end,
this morning, so I was
So we do have 8. We do have 8.
Petition.
Yeah.
I didn't,
I'm like, shoot.
I didn't see Mark over to the side.
They're all listed, but whatever one you decide upon.
Yeah,
I'd
so,
eliminate.
So we do have to appoint someone tonight, and we do have the difficult decision. We obviously thank everyone who put their name in. But we do have to keep the committee to 8 people, to 7
To
people.
7.
So just want to open discussions about thoughts on where we want to go with the 7 people that we wish to appoint.
I'll start if nobody else wants to. All great people, you know, and like you said, Leah, thank you for stepping up. The only one that red flagged for me, I have to say Paige, but it's not Paige per se. For me, it's just that she's a department head, an employee. I mean, Bill Buchanan gets away with that because he doesn't report to the town manager, and who knows, he could possibly be retired before the next town manager. What I would love to see Paige do is maybe with a couple of the department heads, like you said, I would value her opinion on what she and some of the other department heads are looking for. I believe Bernie called it, what did he call you, Bill, or the town manager, the leader of the something or other?
I wasn't here for the
Yeah.
meeting, so I couldn't.
Oh, yeah. Anyhow, so, and the only other thing, she's the only one that's not a town resident. So for me, it is not Paige per se. she would be more than qualified to do this. I just don't like the look.
Yeah.
That's all, that's all.
Anyone else feel the same way about not having someone who's a resident or department head on the selection committee? I find it to be a little bit valuable because they know what goes on in here. And they will all be interviewed, but I do find that perspective, you know, I don't think the screening committee should be made up of all of them, but I do think it brings an important piece to the group.
Well, I'd love to see her, like I said, have some input, you know, for those reasons you said. I guess for me, it's you know, I mean, the person that she's gonna help bring forward is gonna be her direct boss. So, you know, I actually reached out to Bill, I ran into Bill and I just asked him, you know, just because I remember when we brought Chris up, you know, he kind of said, you know, even though this wasn't his process to lead us, we just asked your opinion, you know, and I know you said you weren't really crazy, and then he said that maybe he might feel differently about Paige, maybe because she wasn't a direct hire, but I still feel like, you know, she's going to answer to the new town manager as her boss. Flat out, it has nothing to do with her qualifications at all. So that's the only thing.
So the one thing I will say in her defense, I mean, not only she's the senior staff member here now. She's been here the longest of anybody. And I think, and her, that opinion actually carries a little more weight in that regard. I think that, what I did say was that she is not a direct report, so therefore, she's a direct report, but she was not directly hired by me, it was by the planning board. So I think she's a little bit more insulated.
Yeah.
I think the fact that she doesn't live in town, and then, you know, that's, I think I can go both ways in that way, because they say, look, she offers a different perspective.
Yeah.
And more importantly, she offers she's a very balanced person, has a very balanced approach.
And it helps balance it just as far as gender as well, too. Like you know.
Oh, I didn't even realize
Did you have
that.
something, Seth, or?
I was just wondering
Doc?
if Doc and Dennis
Yeah.
have thoughts, and that may be a quick conversation.
Right.
Yeah. No, I had some reservations, and I mentioned them to you. I just asked the question because there were 8, and the first thing I said, is there anyone on this group that isn't a Foxborough resident? And I'll just put it out there, I was surprised that wasn't a requirement right up front, that you had to be a Foxborough resident. She's an outstanding and talented individual, I get it, she's one of the best people, you know, in the leadership. But, you know, there might be other people out there that aren't Foxborough residents that really wanted to be part of this committee and just assumed that they couldn't be part of the committee. So I think you have to take that
Which is true.
consideration as well. So that's kind of where I stand. I had reservations.
Well, it sounds like we've got 3 people. I mean, that kind of, I would vote to put her on personally. I think that as much experience as we all have, just kind of knowing what goes on at town hall is an important piece. But, you know, it sounds like we have our 7 names then.
Just to play devil's advocate, though, who else, if we kept Paige, would we not want? Who else? I mean, they're all great, qualified people, although Steve Feinstein is probably the most, citizen type of applicant, where everybody else.
Usual suspects.
Yeah. And I will say with his application, I was hoping for a little bit more detail, just because I think we know a lot of the other players, and, you know, the application was just kind of more broad. Like, I really have no idea what he's done for work besides, you know, business, communication, budget, schedules. Like, I mean, I think in some capacity we all do that. So that's the only thing I was just hoping for, a little bit more kind of meat to what the past, present education or special training was. I'm still left with kind of not really understanding that background, but I know that, you know, he's certainly an esteemed citizen, has served on other boards, so certainly probably qualified to do it, so.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I would be lying if I said, I thought, oh my God, this will be difficult. And not to throw Paige out there, but I was like, okay, well, non-resident, like, I was like, oh my God, I'm like, maybe that's the easiest way for us to do it without anybody, you know, I guess, listen, you put your name in, there's no guarantee that you're gonna be here. So, I mean, so I was gonna say the word insult somebody, like who we didn't
It's hard, it's
choose.
tough, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, so I think it was,
There's no insult here. There's 8 great candidates
Yeah,
here.
exactly,
I gotta be honest with
exactly.
you. When I saw all 8 names, I was
Yeah,
psyched.
yeah.
I was hoping it stayed at 7, but
Yeah.
I would like to see the caveat, though, you know, if Paige was the one, that we instruct Bernie maybe as the senior person on the staff to interview her.
Oh, yeah, she'll definitely be interviewed, I'm sure. I mean, and I wish there was some way for her to even just participate if it's not like a vote. I don't know, but,
She could observe.
yeah, she could
Doesn't
observe. I mean,
have to
I
be a
do
voting
think
member.
that,
What do they call that? Ex officio?
Ex officio.
yeah, I mean, I do think like it is important, like, as much as we all think we know, we're not here in this building every day and kind of know, you know, some of the stuff that we're really looking for, that we're really not looking for. So, you know, I had actually asked Paige. I had really hoped she'd do it. So I think that you guys
Yeah.
know where I stand on that.
Could we ask Bernie if she could be an ex officio member to sit in and sort of advise the board?
Yeah, we'd have
as
to
a
make sure she
senior
wants to
member?
do that too, you know?
Right.
I think that's just a little overkill. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know that it's necessary. I mean, we
Yeah.
all like Paige, we all think she's solid and delivers for the town. Let's leave it at that, and let's let the committee be town's, citizens.
Okay. I mean,
That's
it
just
sounds
a
like
thought, I'm not,
I mean, it sounds like with the 3 of you guys, that's your vote. That would be your vote. So I think
Yeah.
we've got our decision.
Well, you know, I'm sensitive to being a newcomer and, you know, taking such an important vote here, but
well, yeah, well, I still think, if she were to sit down with Bernie, whether it's just her as the senior employee, or whether we think he could reach out to a couple other department heads that are, you know, different directions. I think her giving some input to him might help with who he brings forward to the rest of this committee. So I think she would have a opportunity part of it. I don't know, I think either as far as being part of the screening process, I kind of feel like she's in or she's out, you know what I mean? I don't really like the idea of her being there, but just not a vote. I mean, you know, but I would love her to help.
Why don't we take a motion for the 5 members that we're sure on? And then why don't we take a vote for the other 2? I think
I
that's,
don't know if it's open to the public.
did you have a quick comment?
I've got a comment. Seeing that.
Could you
Come on, come on,
up
come
to
on,
the-
come up.
Do you mind come up to the podium?
Arthur Muldoon, 112 Cocasset Street, Unit 7, Foxborough. Seeing that a name has been, I'd like to know who are the other 7?
Sure, let me run through that.
Could you
That's a good-
please?
That's a great question, actually. So,
We do have it in front of us.
Yeah.
Slowly.
yes, so we have Jim DeVellis, Paige Duncan, Mark Powers, Tina Bellinger, Larry Uwe, Steve Feinstein, Kevin Weinfeld, and Bill Yukna.
All right. Bill Yucca is with the school committee?
Well, no, he's the school business
the
manager,
school-
and he's a
school
Fox,
manager.
he's a town resident.
No,
yes.
I know he is.
Yep.
And I think I know another one there.
Kevin was on
Kevin.
planning board, Larry was on AdCom, Tina was on school committee. Jim DeVellis is a former selectman, Mark Powers, he's been part of the housing production plan and some other escaping committees. He has it on his application right here.
The conversation I had with you, and I mentioned that I'm a dirty hands. You mentioned that it was blue collar.
Well, you scared me saying dirty hands, I didn't know what that meant.
No, because I'm a bricklayer.
Yeah, I got it after.
I would have liked to see somebody, I can't even think of how to,
socioeconomic spectrum, perhaps? I'm just thinking
Well,
out loud for it.
no, I don't, it seems as if they're, I can't say that either. No.
Well, we've got our 8
I was going to say
applications
they're
in front of us.
overeducated, and I don't, I would say that I was looking for somebody with a dirty hands, actually myself.
Blue collar.
Yeah.
Oh, well, call it whatever
Yeah.
and that somebody that had an affiliation just by being in the town and as an observer, because I walk around now and I see things here and see things there that I've never seen before, because I never had the time. But I think it's overloaded. And I know a couple, I know Kevin and I know Bill, and I probably know a couple of the others. And I know it's only the screening committee.
Yeah, this is just one
No,
piece.
but I'm a little uncomfortable that,
Well, I think we appreciate the feedback, but this is the 8 applications that we
No,
have in
I-
front of us right now.
all right.
Yeah.
Is it because these were the 8 people we asked?
No, not necessarily. No, like I've never had a conversation with Steve Feinstein. You know, I don't know that gentleman.
No, I don't know either. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I know Steve.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying like it's not.
Rafaela's
Husband.
husband?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it's not.
I've met him a few times. I
It's
don't know
not
him that
all
well,
people
but I've
that
met
we've
him.
gone out and, you know, I think each of us might have had conversations with people.
Well,
that we
I'm not
think are
really
okay.
sure too. I wouldn't call him dirty hands, but Mark Powers was a prison guard.
Mark Powers was a prison
Prison
guard.
guard.
How's that? All right. Mark Powers was a prison guard.
He did become the superintendent.
Yeah,
at some
but,
point,
yeah.
but I wouldn't call him like blue collar.
Was Steve the last applicant, or was there someone?
No, he was not the last applicant.
Well, I think Mark and
I think Mark was.
Jim came
Mark-
after him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Jim was the last one.
He was, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't copied on some of them. So, I mean, I think that it sounds like we want to appoint Mr. DeVellis, Mr. Powers, Mrs. Bellinger, Mr. Uwe, Mr. Weinfeld, and Mr. Yukna. That's 6. Do we want to so move those and then talk about the other 2?
Who were the other 2?
Paige and Steve.
Oh,
What-
Steve Page is out and Steve's fine, right? I mean, what's
Well, I think,
the reservations about Steve?
no, I'm just saying, we need to move this forward somehow.
Yeah, I thought we did. I thought we
Well, then I thought, Dennis, that you weren't sure on, are you saying that you'd like to keep it to all citizens? Because then that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, the only other scenario is the last person, that the 7, because when we talked about it, we were looking for 1 additional person. We ended up getting 2 additional.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, and I don't
think you
even
can
know-
do that because we gave a deadline and as long as it
I
came in.
don't even know who came in last.
And I'll be honest with you, we found out that Mark had reached out to Christina and wasn't on the list.
Yeah, like I wasn't copied, so I didn't
Yeah.
know until I talked to someone, so.
Forget that.
All right, so are you moving, you would like to stick with citizens though? Because then that makes it a lot easier.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so let's take the motion then. The motion is DeVellis, Powers, Bellinger, Uwe, Feinstein, Weinfeld, and Yukna. I will say again, we only have 1 woman on this all-male committee. That was another thing why I did think it was a good idea
It's
to.
certainly not a diverse committee at all.
Right,
It's
yep.
affluent,
Yep,
males,
yep,
so it's not diverse. I think we all agree.
yep.
Yeah.
So, all those in favor
Of the,
of the committee? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Can-
All right.
Do we
but
do?
it's also, I mean, it's not diverse, but it's stakeholders in the community.
Yeah, it's people that have,
Yes.
Yeah.
different areas of expertise.
There's other people with different opinions that are.
And listen, I don't think anybody's going to push Tina Bellinger around. I think she can hold. I think she can hold
She
her.
has
She
some
can
real
hold her.
impressive experience.
Yeah,
Hold her
they're
own.
all impressive.
Do we? I'm sure we don't have to take a motion, but can we agree, just while we're discussing it, that maybe we can reach out to Paige and thank her so much for wanting to do it, and ask her if she would be part of the process, though? Like, as far as, or do you want to talk to Bernie first and let him
Yeah,
him
it
do
sounded like
that?
Seth wasn't really.
I don't think her, no, it's not,
Not to be in the room, but do you?
yeah, I don't think her feelings are hurt. I don't think we need to make any special concessions.
Yeah.
Bernie can certainly talk to Paige and Mark and all.
She'll be interviewed.
Well,
Yeah.
well, no, but I was thinking if we did want to get any of the department heads just to give some input to him, not part of the
They all-
screen.
They all,
I think they
that's what I
all-
just
they
went
all
over.
can.
They're all
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
it.
Oh, okay.
Every
okay.
department head.
Okay.
Yeah, was gonna have an interview.
Okay,
So that will happen.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
All right,
So
good.
I think we're good there. Thank you, Paige. I'm sure you'll get your feedback in otherwise. Okay, all right. Any other questions on that process? Let me know if you don't hear from anyone. Christina, Bernie will be reaching out to you for email addresses for everyone. I said you can kind of jockey.
I spoke with Sharon today about
Okay.
getting some photos, so I
Okay.
told her that we'd be appointing tonight, and I'll send out those letters to everybody who was
Okay,
appointed for this committee.
perfect. They will have to get sworn in. Yep, okay. All right, so I split up some of the next ones, the personnel board policies and non-union benefits updates. So we're going to kind of hit some of the easier ones first. I think the ADA one is a little bit easier than the non-union benefits update. And then I did ask to pull the employee cell phone policy down to our discussion because I just didn't think it was ready for a vote yet after talking to Bill and just kind of like talking through some, what were maybe considerations for the policy that could just kind of be loopholes. And I think we wanted to have a discussion rather than a vote tonight on that one.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with, actually, do you want to just do your, I'm thinking, let's take these out of order. Why don't you give us your assistant town manager's update on the hires real quick, and then let's go into the policies, because I might just go down after into the selectmen's update, and we'll start with the cell phone one.
Sure. So for new hires, we have two recent hires. There's two fighter paramedics. Alyssa Marco, who will be starting September 12th, or has started September 12th, and Keith Hamilton, who will be starting next week, September 17th. They're both transfers. They've been through the fire academy. They're already, licensed paramedics, and we're very happy to welcome them on board. And then we have two recruitments in process. One's for a part-time permit coordinator in the building inspections department, and that's a job that's been, that we haven't filled for a while. And then also a part-time van driver, again, an opening, not a new position. Neither one of those are new positions, over at Council on Aging and Human Services. So that's the recruitments. And then also as part of my assistant town manager update, I'd like to just share a couple of trainings that are coming up. So tomorrow evening, Christina has done a good job publicizing that we are doing board and committee chair training tomorrow here at 6:30 PM. But there are still openings, and so it's focused towards the chairs, but also vice chairs and any other committee members.
Anyone.
Are welcome. Anyone who serves on a board, committee, or commission here in the town of Foxborough is welcome to attend, as long as there's space available. So you can call the town manager's office to sign up for that.
What time is that tomorrow night, Mike?
6:30.
And it will be taped, right?
It will be taped, and so we'll have that available to show again. And then we have three other trainings coming up that are available for board, committee, and commission members. In fact, this is one that we're urging folks to attend. These will be delivered hybrid, so we'll be live in this room, and I'll give you the dates in just a minute. Live training in this room by our HR attorney, Jack Dolan, who's also doing tomorrow night's training. And folks can also, if they can't make it here in time for those trainings, they can also attend via Zoom from home or from their office, and we're recording those as well. So the next training, these are all going to be at 5:30 PM, 1-hour trainings. So on October 12th, we're going to do training on the social media policy. On November 9th at 5:30, we're doing training on our electronic communication and computer use policy. That's the one that was updated last year. And then on November 30th, we're doing training on our standards of conduct and civility policy. And all of those are at 5:30 in this room. And Christina will be putting that out again, and that's open and encouraged for all board, committee, and commission members. And we're urging people to attend those trainings, and there'll be an acknowledgement form going out, showing that people have done those trainings, and then we'll put that into their, committee member files. So that's it for my update.
All right, and just speaking about files, I know we were getting, kind of like firming up appointments and making sure people are sworn in. I feel passionately that if we have a policy and we hand it out to everyone, we should have a file on everyone. I know they're not employees, but I think we should have a file on every board and committee member and strive to make sure we have full files that they've received and acknowledged the policy. So I feel pretty passionately about that. Like, what's the point of a policy if we're not gonna make sure it comes back? So that's a conversation that we've been having, that I do feel like we should have files on every single board or committee member, even though they're not an employee. If anyone feels differently, but kind of that's the message that I've given. And I even talked to Mr. Dolan, and he kind of said the same thing, so I think we do have a little bit of cleanup just to do there as well.
And we've actually already been working on implementing that.
Okay, great.
So these acknowledgement forms, for these trainings, as well as prior trainings that have done, that we have the acknowledgement forms, those are going into those files
Okay.
currently.
And then I think we need to go to people, though, that we don't have them for, like, hey, you're on, this board, we don't have this policy for you. I do think we should try to get those into the files as well. It shouldn't just be sent out, we need to make sure it comes back.
Right, and that's the intention.
Yep, okay. All right, so let's go right into the personnel board. So I think the first one's a little bit easy, if you can explain that, and then explain the non-union benefits update.
Okay, let me just dig down to that. I had another one queued up.
Or which one did you have queued up, if you want to go?
The ADA grievance.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so for that one, there's two reasons that we're doing this. And one is that we're in the process of updating our open space and recreation plan. That's something that we need to do every so often, and I think it's been at least 10 years since we've done it, maybe 11 years. So that's a concerted effort. It involves a lot of departments, particularly conservation, recreation, planning, DPW, human resources, and there are a lot of things that come together. Basically, there are 9 different items that we need to kind of put together and that I need to be able to submit to the land use department, and this is one of them, this grievance procedure. So Scott Shippey, our building commissioner, by the nature of his position, is our ADA coordinator for the town. And it touches on a number of different areas, anything from sidewalk access to handicap parking spots to access into buildings and around buildings. It also touches on our hiring policies, our firing and promotion policies. So it touches all these different departments, but he is, and in most cases, in most communities, the building commissioner is going to be the coordinator. But if something is reported to him through this ADA grievance procedure, and it happens to be an HR-related issue or a DPW-related issue, he'll bring in that area expert, to rely on. But it's, this makes him the reporting official where a grievance comes into the town. So the poster and the grievance procedure you have in front of you is a well laid out document that I actually took. It's what communities are using, and it's adopted exactly from the state, the template. And what I've done is, change the names and contact information, to make it applicable to Foxborough. And so this complies with the law for what we need to do. For the open space and recreation plan, but also for applying for ADA grants. If we were going to do some ADA sort of a project in town, and our land use director was going to go out for a grant application, this would be one of the things they're looking for in that grant application, that we've checked this box.
So this is new, not an amendment?
This is new.
Okay.
This is brand new to us. It's not new to the state of Massachusetts and many of the communities that are going and updating the OSRP or going out for these ADA grants. So it's a very templated sort of a thing that I've adapted to Foxborough. And this has been reviewed by our HR council and by the personnel board and recommended, to bring in front of you for approval.
I mean, it is kind of foreign to me that, like, if there was an HR issue, they go to Scott Shippey for ADA compliance, but if you're telling me that's what happens in the municipal world, and that there's no, confidentiality issues there or whatever, then that's the process.
Now, honestly, if it's an internal employee issue, they're gonna come to either the HR director or the town manager. But it could also be, someone who's, okay, now let's say we've done a hiring process and someone outside, okay, not an employee, someone who didn't get hired, and wants to grieve that process, or somebody who's, well, I know a friend that I think they should have been hired. This puts us on notice, it posts that this is the person to contact, and then, it would be referred to myself, or like I said, one of the other area experts on what that is. This gives one contact person and their information out publicly, that this is
So
our
Mike, is
ADA
that like if
coordinator.
somebody from the, the public, because I've actually bothered Bill a few times, like, I've gone to drive Jimmy to work and the handicap spaces are covered with snow. And I didn't really know who to call, I guess I could, well, I shouldn't say that. I thought about calling Chris and I'm like, oh, he's probably been out all night and stuff like that. But just to make someone aware of it, so Scott would be the person, if anybody just, in town, just to notify them that that's not grievance process.
If it's a point in time, like it's a shoveling or snow plowing thing,
Yeah.
that's the DPW director.
Just call- just-
or the
yeah.
town- or
I
the
still
town
struggle
manager.
with the person's disability in employment would go to Scott Shippey, but, if it's gonna be one person.
I think it's intended to mean that if you have, say for instance, if you got hired into a building and you couldn't access a certain part of the building.
Yeah.
That's.
That I get, but like the example Mike just gave was if someone feels like they're discriminated on and wasn't hired due to a disability, they would go to Scott Shippey. That's.
And then Scott would then immediately kick it
Okay.
to Mike.
Okay.
So it's more of a clearinghouse situation.
It's to make it clean,
Okay.
that they know there's one person they can, kind of inlet, send their thing to, and then it'll be parsed to the right person to be taken care of.
I mean, to me, that would still be HR, like if I got a job somewhere and I couldn't get up the stairs, I don't know.
Are most of these reasonable accommodation issues?
Most of them would be.
Yeah, most of them would be.
Because that would make sense that they'd go to Scott.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if there was actually going to be a grievance, would you want another employee
That's
to
where I'm
know
hung
that
up,
you're
but-
grieving it? Like, I know you pass it on to you, Mike, as in HR, but should another employee know? I get what you're trying to do. It's easiest to, like, go to one person, but should Scott know, like, I'm an employee and I'm mad. I can't get in, I couldn't get into a spot or whatever, and I'm grieving it. Should Scott know that I'm grieving it, or is that?
Or should Scott know you're disabled, whatever. the
So
disability
it's,
may be.
there's two ways, there's another way to look at this, is that you could actually have, they could all go to HR and then kick it to Scott if it's.
That makes more sense in my mind.
If it would be a situation where Scott had to deal with it from a building or an accessibility issue. I think that's the issue you're struggling with here, is that.
Yeah,
if
I would still think HR would want to check that off, make
it
sure
would
it
come to
happens,
HR
here it
as
goes,
the
like.
clearinghouse and then go to
like,
Scott if it was.
Scott's got so much, I mean, everyone's got so much on their plate, but to me, this seems like HR is at the top, and then
Yeah.
they're kind of, assigning it out versus Scott at the top.
Maybe
and-
they reach to Mike, and Mike says to Scott, can you go check on this?
Yeah.
Like, are we in compliance?
That
Do
would-
we have,
That would be fine, as long as it's one person that the people know who to go to.
Yeah.
In this, I was following the template of what the state and other communities are doing, but it's fine, as long as there's one contact and we communicate that, I think that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, because somebody could be saying, hey, the stairs aren't to code, and Scott will go, oh, yeah, the stairs are to code. Like,
Right,
I get
right.
maybe,
But wouldn't HR still want to know
Yeah.
that this person had a concern
Right.
that the stairs weren't to code? Like, how do you make sure it full
What
circles?
wouldn't change in this is that wouldn't change the building commissioner from being the ADA coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because that actually is his he's actually, through the town clerk's office, that's an appointed position. And that goes with the role of.
Of the building commissioner.
Yeah, he's the ADA liaison to the ADA, committee, and he's also the ADA coordinator. That's, one of his assigned duties. So that wouldn't change, but certainly the HR director could be the central clearinghouse, if that, rests easier for you. That's fine.
Well, I agree with you 1,000%, but yet Mike's saying that's kind of how the state, how
Right,
other
what do you-
communities
what do you
do it.
guys
It's kind of
propose to
funny,
have
isn't it?
To me, it seems like a no-brainer that it should go through HR.
Yeah, okay, do you
Okay.
agree? Yeah, I think everyone agrees, okay.
Well,
Dennis?
not everyone.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I'm looking at it from the employee point of view. And not all employees, it might surprise you, I'm just being facetious, want to go to HR. They really don't. So this gives employees a couple of avenues to really address their concern. One is through Shipley and the other is through HR. And if they're comfortable going to HR, fine. And it's certainly going to be good communication and cooperation between HR and the building commissioner.
Yeah, I think when I hear formal grievance, that's when I agree, but I think that HR is kind of trained right to make sure that it's, not that he's not, but he's not an HR person, to make sure that things are divvied out correctly and tracked correctly and come back, so it sounds like at least 4 of us, though, think it should be, which is
Yeah.
majority, yeah. So, all right, so I think we want to take a motion to approve the policy with the change just to the reporting, to the, let's see what it
The
says.
reporting to the HR director or the assistant town
Yeah.
manager in this case.
To where complaints, inquiries, requests, and complaints should be directed to the HR director.
Okay, I would say HR director.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Just as amended, Dennis.
Okay, motion to approve the ADA grievance procedure policy as recommended by the Personnel Board.
Well, as amended, as
amended.
amended by the board.
Second,
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
opposed?
Oh, sorry, yep. Thank you. The next one I think is even a little more tough, or just, we'll have a conversation on it. The next one is the non-union benefits update. So Mike, we have a long document here of the entire booklet. I'll just ask you to call out the changes that are in track changes, but, it is a,
Sure.
whatever,
Pass that
12,
down.
15-page document.
This will give you I discussed this with the Personnel Board, this is what they had, so I want to just give you the same bulletized memo of just the breakdown of 4 things that I discussed with them. So just to back up, these are recommendations that came to me from employees, and for non-union employees, the Personnel Board is their, that would be their arbiter. That's where they can go, because they can't go to a union to appeal or anything like that. So when a non-union person has, who's not, they can go to the Personnel Board. So I brought these forward to the Personnel Board. So just to back up,
So no at-large members brought these forward, this is just coming from you?
they brought them, no.
They did bring them to you.
Members did bring them
Okay,
to me.
thank you.
So these are none that I initiated. These all came from employees, some of them multiple times. And so I represented the employees, and I said that to the Personnel Board. These came to me through employees. Now, just to back up about 10 or so, up until about 10 years ago, we had approximately 70 non-union employees, and it had been that way for, as I understand it, many, many decades. And at some point, somewhere amongst these 70 non-union employees, they felt like they weren't, they didn't have a voice, they didn't have a place where they could get some parity, amongst their other coworkers. In other words, some of the other, and I'll give you an example, and this is going back probably about 11 or 12 years ago. There was a major reshaping of the town's employee health plans, and so all of the major employee groups on the town and school side all gathered in what was the old Selectmen's conference room, and were able to have a voice on what their new employee health plan was going to be, except for those 70 employees. They weren't actually invited or allowed into that room because they were not a cohesive unit, okay? So not too long after that, those employees started to, organize, and they became what is now the Steelworkers Unit A and Unit B unions. And so there are about 55 of them. There remain about 15 non-union employees. And I raised that because I think some of the impetus for starting the Steelworkers Union was because they didn't feel like they were given an equal opportunity at some of the benefits that other union employees got. And I don't know all of the history, although I was a non-union employee and did for a while become a steelworker employee. I wasn't one of the organizers, but I was a member of that union. Okay, with that as history, the things that were brought to me are things that were negotiated by the Steelworker Union during the negotiations that I did over the last year. One of the things is that the longevity and the vacation plans and the certification stipends for our union and non-union employees have been in parity throughout this period of time. In the last contract, the steelworkers received a $25 per year increase for those who are eligible for longevity. So someone would have to be here at least 5 years to be eligible for any longevity. So that was
$5 for the year?
For the year.
for the year.
25
It's
extra
increase.
increase.
It's in your thing with the table towards the end
Increase.
on the,
So I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but let's say for 5 years, it was a $300. It went up to $325.
it's towards the back, Seth. It's
Yeah,
like.
and I don't know if those are the exact numbers, but it increased by $25. And so, so this group was asking, to stay in parity with our coworkers who are in the Steelworkers Union. Can our longevity, which had been equal to theirs up until last year, can that go up by $25 a year?
It's
So
page 37, Seth.
Thank you.
It's a long document in here.
Oh, my God, it's page 6.
Yeah, 37.
So do you want me to continue to list through what the other 3 items are?
I think we can read them, but why does number 2 say Unit A if we're not talking about Unit A?
Because they were the only ones who have that particular stipend. And there are only 3 people of the non-union employees who get a stipend, and they would be of equivalent stature, let's say, as far as like department head or division head level, that would get a stipend. And this
So
would
it's
be
3 employees is what we're recommending.
right.
I mean, I think,
Which is peanuts, but here's the thing, this is what I always struggle with. I struggled with it on AdCom, when we would be, talking about the budget and the raises and stuff. So here's the thing. The union people get a certain amount, but they also pay union dues. So I kind of feel like, and I don't really understand why we have department heads in the union, but like you said, Mike, it's the history, can't change it, it is what it is. I hear stories about why the union started years ago and whatever, I don't know if any of it's true or not, but, it's bizarre to me that, if you're part of the union, you're paying union dues, and then, we negotiate that stuff that somebody else says, there was a discussion before, it was in finance, some part of the finance department, this was on AdCom, you might remember this one. Part of the finance, team was union. And the next thing you know, we're looking at these raises, and I asked the question, I said, well, and it was before George was here, it was between Randy and George, and I said, well, why are we giving some of these people a 6% raise? And he said, well, because we have to catch them up to what the union, I'm like, the union people, whatever, you negotiate that, like, to me, that doesn't mean you get to people who, and a lot of those positions are compensated more than some of the union positions. So anyhow, I have a hard time with saying, we give you this because the union people get it. It's, I think it needs to be taken on its own, and whether this is, adding extra vacation time and stuff. I mean, I thought we had this discussion. Didn't we go from 1 week to 2 weeks already?
That was with the
That was
union.
with the
So,
steelworkers.
so that's one I can get behind, is like, I really don't think 2 weeks of vacation time for new employees is standard. Like, I can get behind that one, but like, giving everyone an extra week of vacation because someone who's new got it, like, I don't know, it just, I struggle with that, and that's where, like, Dennis, with your union experience, like, maybe this is normal, but it just feels like whenever we do something in the union, we just do it for the non-union, like,
Right.
but they're not in the union, so,
Right. So, I mean, this is a very complicated area, and we're not gonna be able to do justice to it with tonight, but anytime you go through contract negotiations, it's incumbent on management to look at what the union got, that when you look at the broader population that aren't yet unionized, you wanna be fair. You wanna have some level of parity, because you don't want everyone to be unionized, because that's really the outcome, if you don't really do that analysis. But it's not a simple analysis. There are certain classes of employees that by their job, they get more, and that's a reality. In hospitals, it's nurses. My wife's a nurse, so, but, that's a good example. I would say police officers, fire department, officers, I would expect they get more, because number one, it's, the marketplace and supply and demand, and number two, they have, everywhere, they have strong unions. And, you really, it's tough to negotiate when you have unions that are that strong, and they can really kind of shut you down if you don't really kind of cooperate with them. And it's a tribute here that I think the labor relations are good. I've said that always, that the labor relations are good. So you have to go through and do the analysis and look at where there is obvious disparity. And, you always have to look at the finances, of course, but you look at where there's obvious disparities that need to be corrected. And if it's not too much money, then you can make like I guess what you're doing tonight.
So that's exactly what's being happening here. And quite honestly, we've not made adjustments to that schedule in, I think, the 10 years I've been here. This is the first time it's been done. So it's not like it's an everyday thing, but I think what's happened is that we have not made a lot of changes to contracts, that we've done, periodic things here and there to try and keep, because we try to maintain consistency. And if you're inconsistent, then you need to address that. I mean, otherwise, you end up with a situation where the remaining people will unionize. Because they'll say, look, if we're going to treat us unfairly, that's what's going to end up with. So I think that's the other side. That's the other side of that discussion, is that you try to look at this from a reasonable fairness level. And I think what's being asked here is really pretty minimal in the scheme of things.
Yeah, dollar cost wise,
Yeah.
it's not,
Yeah.
not
There's
much.
no
I mean,
real impact.
That's, I really wanted to hear, I don't know, Seth, what your union
What is,
experience
so I
but-
still don't understand number one, but $25 per, so how much, what does that cost the town per year?
So between number one and number two, you're talking about under $700
$700 for the whole year.
for the year. That's the impact, in these,
It's only a $25 increase to what.
Just something they're already getting, so.
Yeah, there's about $700 increase combined one and two, because there are 3 certifications, that's $300, and not everybody is over 5 years, so not everybody gets that $25 increase.
But for example, if you've been here for 10 years, instead of getting 500, you're getting 550.
No,
Sorry, 525.
right, $25 increase
$700 in total,
in total for number one and two.
Total cost impact.
Number,
the whole,
Incremental,
for the whole town,
incremental,
not
yeah.
just one person.
for the whole town.
That's why it's.
So there's only like
it's-
Number-
three people you said it affects? So we
For the
said-
stipends, it's 3 people. For the longevity, it's more. But it's in total about $700. For numbers 3 and 4, these are not overtime positions. These are not people that are going to be, there's
Replaced.
very little impact as far as the vacation thing. We've looked at, it's a recruiting tool to get people adequate, and we know we're behind the power curve on getting people adequate vacation, especially recruiting and attracting
So
them.
talk to us about number 4 though, because they're already here. They already accepted the job with 2 weeks vacation. Now we're gonna go back and fix them a week because they only got 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks. Like, that's the one that.
So there's the thinking behind that
Yeah.
one was, there was a history behind it, and the reason why, that was to help to get the deals done. And so to try and, when you get a situation there where you're negotiating and it only impacts some people, and it was done for 1 year only, not.
So that was to get a union deal signed. So
That's right.
that's the one that I struggle with, is number 4. Like,
But then again, if you're a non-union person and you saw the union person get that, it's a fairness issue. You know, and I think that's what it comes down to.
The cost there is zero, essentially. Now, when somebody takes vacation, for somebody who's not eligible for overtime, you know, the rest of that staff has to pick up a little bit of load. So there's some load sharing, but it's not costing money. So that one time, 1 week, if that were to be recommended, then that would be no cash value, no transfer into the next year, and it doesn't leave with you. If you leave before the end, you know, you don't get paid out for it. So that's what we did with the steelworkers. So what I've done here is just summarize the 4 things that have been requested of me, that are 4 differences that came out in the steelworkers contract. So that's it, basically, those 4. So I put that before you. It's,
I mean, the personnel board supported, I'm okay with moving forward on this one.
I was
Do we
just
wanna
gonna
just take
say,
a vote and
with
see if we're all-
listening
okay.
to
Okay.
more to Mike, I guess it's
I really wanted to hear
stupid
from
with
Dennis
such
too,
short money
honestly.
to not
Yeah.
do it.
Agree.
I will say one other thing, is, and Dennis touched upon it, and it is critically important. We would not have gotten through all of the contracts and settled them last year if we did not have very good labor relations. That's something, and I know we're talking about, you know, a small number of non-union employees, but we take labor relations, by and large, very, very seriously. Because, you know, that doesn't mean you give in to every whim, but we nurture those relationships and we listen. And if we can address an issue before it becomes an issue, that's one less grievance or one last time in arbitration. And so we spend a lot of time taking care of relationships and making sure that we do have labor on our side. We're one of the communities, one of the few communities that, you know, closed our doors to the public for 6 weeks and then reopened, kept staff on board, except for getting down to what we were mandated by state to have for spacing during COVID. 6 weeks later, we had everybody on board and we worked, and, you know, through COVID. And again, that's because we have labor relations. We were able to go back and remember all those policies that we brought in front of you, and we went and I impact bargained every one of those policies that you voted for, and the unions got behind us and they worked with us, and so did our non-union. All of our employees worked with us, and we worked through COVID as we saw town and town again shut for over a year.
2 years.
We did it differently, we did it right, and we had labor relations all along the way. And we closed 13 contracts, including the school contract. We worked together with those folks as well in negotiating, because we had labor relations on our side. We settled all the contracts, and we still have good labor relations. So we work hard to maintain it, it's important.
I do think we're just missing a motion for this one.
Hey, so one more quick question. So with the new contracts, the new union contracts, we went up from 1 week to 2 on vacation?
Only if you're hired, right? Only if,
Right.
so it's if you're hired.
So let me ask you, so why are we going from 2 to 3 here? If you're trying to, you know, keep them, you know, so they're parallel, why, so if we go and say, now if you're getting hired, years 1 through 4, you have
get
3.
Yep.
So what happens now to the union people? Are gonna come back and say, well, you just.
There you have it.
They have it.
That's what we're making them the same as the union
So
people.
this would bring it up to.
I thought we went from 1 to 2.
No.
We went
no,
2 to
no,
3.
vacation, no.
We went 2 to 3.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
okay.
Typically,
Okay.
you know, the municipalities have been behind as far as vacation goes, and the standard, you know, across the country had been for many, many decades, you come in the door and it's 10 days and you stay there for 5 years. And that's what it has been. And the movement now, there's a couple of movements. One is moving to greater time, and I did an analysis, and, across Massachusetts, it's, between 13 to 18 days starting vacation time.
Oh, so that's where our next level goes,
That's-
is at 5+. So
Exactly.
1 through 4.
Right.
Okay, I was thinking in my head, we're gonna go to 3, and then a following year, then they're gonna get another week
No,
or whatever.
no.
So 1 through 4, they stay at 3, and
They stay
then
for
5 is
till
when there's
year
a
5.
jump.
Exactly.
Okay.
The
All
other,
right, so I
the
think-
other trend that I'm starting to see is paid time off, and that's something that I hope municipalities grab onto soon, because it's the right model to go with, and I've brought it to the table the last couple of times, so hopefully next time we'll get that through. We're still in old school mode, but that's not
Okay.
something for tonight.
Okay, I'm good.
All right, so we have a motion for this one.
Motion to approve the ADA grievance procedure policy as recommended by the
No,
Personnel
next
Board.
one,
Next one.
11.2.
Motion to approve the non-union benefits updates as recommended by the Personnel Board.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, great. Do we just want to go down to the cell phone policy while we're kind of on this policy talk, is what I'm thinking? And, just for background, this is another one that went to the Personnel Board, and they did accept it. But when I had my weekly planning meeting with Bill and others, there were some holes in it. And I think Bill even had some feedback that the policy wouldn't apply correctly to him. So, it definitely needed some work, and I don't think was ready to be approved based on what Bill was saying.
And I apologize to Mike, because I didn't read it that closely, but it was, but it's a case where it wasn't ready for prime time yet. So we've since looked at some additional policies from other communities. We've also, I asked Leah if she had a policy at her own company that we could take a look. So we're going to try and incorporate some additional thoughts on that one.
Yeah, and there's even, I know when we have a town-issued phone, or
Yeah.
even a BYOD, there's lots of things about, if,
Yeah. So
there's
just,
a lot of stuff that should be signed and agreed, and we should really, probably be even talking to Aaron, make sure he doesn't have anything else that goes in this
well,
stuff.
we have a different policy for that,
Okay.
for technology, so that's a different issue. But I do think, the background in this was that have really had a simple, really simple policy for many, many years, and that was you either get a phone or you get a stipend of $40 per.
Or you get none.
Per month, or you get nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did
So
you
either
have any other feedback on this one, or?
So I just want to, so the only thing I'm thinking about is making sure it's comprehensive enough to cover the need.
That's what it didn't have, that's what was exactly my thing, this
Yeah.
is great, but who gets what?
Yeah, so yeah, who decides and what do they get? And this is the policy board, so that's why this is in front of us, right?
Yeah, exactly. So to me, this policy said who, you either get a $40 stipend or you get a town-issued cell phone, and I was like, that's great, but who gets which one? Or who doesn't get anything? So that's where I said, some places
Well,
might
well,
say,
usually it's the town manager that makes that decision. So in those instances, that's what's happened. So
right, but I
people-
think it should
people-
say, if you use your phone for more than 60%, I'm just totally making stuff up, or if you're on the road or you're on,
So we've had those conversations, and so even on an informal basis, that's how we've made the decisions. It's like, well, I use my phone I'm on call all the time, or I'm on the road a lot, so therefore I need to have access to a phone. Some people simply don't want a phone. They'd prefer to get the stipend and maintain their own phone. But, it's a complex world that we live in today, and so this does require more of a written policy and procedure now, which we haven't followed until now, but have practiced it for quite extensive period of time.
Right. So there was the one issue of a stipend that was recommended or suggested for more than 40. So that's how this came to be in front of the board. And so I just want to make sure that, Paige and Mark and other department heads are comfortable with what this says and what it does.
Right.
So
Yeah, we've actually, everybody, I think most employees know that. I think there was an instance recently where a position changed, and there was an attempt to try and provide that person with a greater stipend, which we had to say, no, you can't do that, because first of all, it's a union contract that it impacted that. Even though it's not cited in a contract, we had a union practice. as to how much the person could receive, so we couldn't say yes to that.
It was union practice and that
Yes.
dictated?
Yeah, if you have a union practice that's been long practiced by the town and the union, then it really connotates, it reduces really down to a policy in reality. So it's a defensible position you can take when you go to an arbitration.
Really?
It's called a past
Past
practice.
Practice, yeah.
That's practice.
Yeah. One thing that I took the opportunity to change here is something that we've been starting to address, and that is IRS's requirement to start taxing certain things, like tools, that the town is
stipends.
providing money to get tool stipends. So we addressed that in the last contract. With this one, the IRS is saying that if somebody gets a phone stipend and it's not a town-provided phone, that's taxable. So, the standard, the past practice has been $40 stipend, and there's been no tax, either by the town or by the employee, but at some point, we got to address it. So in here, the language I put was, $40 post-tax, so the town will take out the tax, send that to the IRS, and then we're
And notice that,
clear
Mike,
of
and
that liability.
Yeah, I question why, a legitimate business use of someone's personal cell phone, it feels like it's, you're being reimbursed for a cost, a client, or, sorry, I got work in my head. Town employee spends $40 on, using their phone. They're basically using their phone for work. So it's a reimbursement more than it is like a benefit.
It is.
So that's why the taxable part kind of throws me.
I agree, and in fact, our past and present finance directors have agreed, but the IRS does not agree.
Wow.
And they say that is
They
a
win,
taxable
right?
benefit. They do. Now, if the town buys the phone and issues it, the town's gonna spend more money doing that, but then we're not taxed, because the town has purchased the property and is loaning it to the employee for use during the time of their employee. Where the IRS, I think where they're coming from is, well, how do we parse out how much was used for business and how much was used for personal? Because it's like Mike Johns' cell phone is Mike Johns' cell phone, and I use it probably for 80% business, but it's still my phone, and I pay the bill, and I get $40 towards it. And the IRS, I think, is saying, well, how do we know how much is how much? And so they say, tax it.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's what they do.
And going to the last one here, like when we talk about like hands-free driving, like to me, that would be in the cell phone use policy, not the cell phone like reimbursement policy, but I
But,
don't know.
well, this wasn't supposed to be just a cell phone reimbursement policy. This was a cell phone policy.
Because then below it says, I've read and received the cell phone usage policy. So I would think like, don't use your phone while driving would be in the cell phone usage policy, not in the policy about like how much you're reimbursed and which one you get.
Well, it would actually fall, it would to be just dual categories.
Okay.
So it'd be a subcategory of that.
Okay, and then I know there was concern about people with town-issued phones may not have a personal phone. Are you okay with this, where it says town-issued phones are for town use only, with only in capital letters?
Yeah, see, it presents a problem for people that have they're 24/7 people.
Right, that's
You
what
know,
you had a
I
concern
made
with
that
that,
note.
not
I
me.
said, look, it's difficult because that's the phone I use, so.
Yeah, so I think you guys have to get together on that one.
So that's something that it's actually, you have to start looking at that
Yeah.
closer to see what makes the most sense.
So Bill had his own feedback on what was in the policy that I think needed to be incorporated too.
Yeah.
This bill, Keating?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's why we just felt like it wasn't ready to be voted if Bill even had feedback
the other guy.
on the
other guy.
policy,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
Bill.
So I think you guys have to look at it together.
Yeah, we've already
Back
done
to
that.
us
We're
with
gonna
it.
we're gonna
And I
come
don't
back
think
to
we're ready
you.
to vote on it tonight. Once if there's anything else to incorporate, and I think
The
we're,
100% policy or the zero tolerance policy, or whatever you want to call it, it's a little extreme. If
It's
you
not
want
reality.
You want people to carry two phones? I mean, I guess they would have to based on this.
right.
That's right. So so we welcome anybody's feedback. If you have thoughts on this, please send them to us, because we want to make sure it's comprehensive and make it easier for you next time you see it. All right?
I just gave all my thoughts, so.
There you
Yeah,
go.
okay, all right, perfect. I knew you wanted to talk about it. So, all right, let's go to you, Bill, and then the rest of the selectmen's update, and then we have some action items.
All right, so just a couple quick things. I had the privilege and honor of serving on an MIT cybersecurity panel this past few weeks with the Deputy Director of Cybersecurity for the White House.
It was, the Maya board had asked me if I would serve on it to go to Cambridge and go to MIT. First time I'd been to MIT in my life, by the way, which was kind of interesting. And I definitely wasn't the smartest guy in that campus, I can tell you that. But I will say it was actually very, very interesting, because this is clearly cybersecurity. I mean, it was great to see that the White House is now reaching down to the local government level to find out the kind of cybersecurity issues we're dealing with, and they realize it's a national issue. And so we had a lot of input and a lot of discussion with this person, and she was fascinated, and to the point where I think she wants to come back and talk to us again. So I thought it was actually very, very, very productive. The Power Forward program is, if you heard on the news, I heard on the news even today, that electricity rates are going to go up, and they're going to go up nationally. It's not just a Massachusetts thing or a regional thing, it's the entire country. And it's because natural gas prices have gone up. You know, running the power plants themselves is very, very expensive. As a result, you're going to see some rather dramatic increases in your electric rates starting in October, November. So the Power Forward program has negotiated what they think is the best rate they can get. It's going to be reflected in the new program, and the new program is going to be going out. There's actually we're advertising it now, so we'll be starting it soon.
And who is the Power Forward program? Like, someone asked me, like, do the Board of Selectmen negotiate that? And I said, no.
No. So the Power Forward was put together by a third-party company that Mass Power Options, thank you, who actually has provided that service for us. It used to be our consultant, electric consultant, actually just recently, they retired recently, so we went to a different company. But they broke off that piece to Mass Power Options now, so they do that for us. And they go out and they secure multiple bids from multiple companies that provide service to Massachusetts and to, particularly in Foxborough. And then they negotiate the best rate they can get for us out of that bidding process. So it's well thought out. It's actually a program that was started several administrations, several boards previously. Was an idea that I think Dave Feldman brought forward originally, but was one that was being acted on by several communities across the Commonwealth. We've now done it, and our program's actually been very successful. So it's just another stage of it, but it's an unfortunate stage at this point because the rates themselves have just gone up very high beyond their control. So if folks see those rates coming through, don't be mad at the deliverer of the message. It's just the message is what it is, and I'm sorry to say that.
Is that the mailing that a lot of us just got?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I just one town property approval. I had the POW MIA Day 24-hour vigil on September 16th. That's going to be from 4 p.m. to September 17th at 4 p.m. So that's going to be a 24-hour vigil on the common itself. It's not the first time we've done that on several occasions. We accepted donations of $100 to the K-9 Fund from Nancy Bach, $50 to the Historical Commission from the book sales, and just a couple other quick notices. There was a boil water notice in effect, and still in effect here in Foxborough and in Mansfield, and the good news is that they received 2 consecutive tests from Sunday and Monday indicated no presence of E. coli bacteria in the water. If they receive the third one tomorrow, they'll be able to lift the ban. So that should be forthcoming very, very shortly.
It did seem like there was room for improvement, though, on the communication. Not here. I just feel like Mansfield got it, and they put out their own word, and it caused, like, mass confusion in Foxborough. So did they reach out to you to tell you that our residents were affected in advance of their communication?
They did not reach out. I did not hear about this until Monday morning.
Okay.
All right, but I did hear about it on Sunday.
Yeah.
From our folks, because...
Right, I texted you over the weekend,
Yes,
yeah.
and I also heard from a couple other residents, too,
Okay.
that texted me for the same reason. So, so we obviously took steps to notify. I reached out to Chris, Chris and the entire water department were on top of that. So they were able to get the word out and work with Christina on that to get the word out.
Yeah, it just seemed like, the test came back Friday, so I feel like there's
Yeah.
definitely room for improvement in that.
Yeah, clearly that was...
Cascading between communities where we share water.
That was something that I'll see Kevin Dumas about that and speak to him about that. So that's the latest on the boil water situation. The West Street Dam construction began this week. Daily road closures are from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. over the next 2 to 3 weeks. in a date to be announced in October, it will be a 24/7 shutdown of the road between home numbers 25 through 31 West Street until early December. Updates of the timeline will be posted on the town's website and social media and the DPW Facebook page. Hydrant flushing will begin in zones 1 through 5 at the end of the month. Dates of flushing will be posted on the town and DPW social media outlets, as well as the website. Signs will be posted where the flushing is occurring in those areas as well. And the Foxborough Peace Day, as you noticed and noted earlier, is Saturday on the Common from 1 to 4 p.m. There's several health department community wellness grants classes being held. Grants were funded through the state. Include family dance party on Wednesday at 5 p.m. in September. Tai Chi yoga every other Saturday starting September 17th for 4 classes. And family boot camp every other Saturday starting September 10th also for 4 classes. Water aerobics on Friday mornings from 10 a.m. to on September 16th, 23rd, and 30th. All classes are held at Foxborough YMCA. A basic nutrition class will be held on Thursday, October 6th. I'm going to try and go to that, by the way, and at 4 p.m. for 4 weeks in the Boyden Library Community Room. All classes are free of charge for all ages and no registration required. Details can be found on the Health Department page on the town's website. Community Preparedness Night will be on September 28th from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Public Safety Building, hosted by the Foxborough Fire and EMS. They will be joined by the Foxborough Human Services, Veteran Services, Foxborough Health Department, and SEMREC to provide information and demonstrations for community members to learn how to prepare for, react during, and know what resources are available after a crisis. This is a drop-in event free of charge to the community, hosted by Foxborough Fire and EMS in the McGinty Room at the Foxborough Public Safety Building, 8 Chestnut Street, Foxborough. More information will be posted on the town website tomorrow. The train started back up here in Foxborough. Happy to say that there was a grand beginning to that as of yesterday morning. The trains will be running from 5:49, 6:49, and 7:49 in the morning out of Foxborough into Boston, coming home in the afternoons from around 5, leaving around 5:15 and 6:15 if I'm not mistaken. But you can check the MBTA website now for those dates and times. Also, the train schedule is obviously a much better schedule than we had in the past. And I actually was on a television taping of that today with Jury Love on her around Foxborough segment, and with Brian Early, and we talked about that today at length. Chamber breakfast tomorrow morning, Tri-Town Chamber, where we give the annual update on economic development, what's going on in each of our communities. And that will be at 7:30 to 9 p.m. over in Mansfield at the Norton Country Club. TBC, thank you. I always get those dates, because there are 2 different places, by the way. So, yeah, yes, absolutely. And the Holiday Lights for the Common program is, they were able to get a successful bid on that. So that's going to be happening. I'm excited to say that this is going to be one of the best common decorations we've ever seen.
And we're trying to get the businesses involved.
And the businesses are involved
on the
in that,
last
too,
Foxborough Common Business Collaborative, too.
So I'm really excited to see this happen. This is something we've been working on for a long time, so hopefully it'll go off without a hitch. So those are the updates. Lots of going on in town right now, as you might expect, and so I'll turn it back over to you.
Yes, and I want to apologize. I didn't realize until it hit me when we were talking about the policies that you guys might be hanging around for this. So my sincere apology that I didn't take this out of order earlier. It hit me as we were going through the policies, and I apologize. So we want to make sure to recognize King of Foxborough, town historian, Jack Authelet's birthday. His fan club is here, although he's working. If we compare, there's the audience. His fan club is here. He's watching from the comfort of his home. We asked him if he'd rather celebrate remotely or in person, and looks like he sent his crew to celebrate in person while he's watching us at home. So September 26th, I think Mike jumped the gun. If you guys remember last year, he wished him a happy 90th birthday last year.
He got something poured.
He was 1 year off, so this is the real deal. He's really 90 this year. So
In fairness to Mike, you got some poor intel. Sorry, it was not his fault.
I got a text right before the meeting last year, make sure you wish Jack a happy 90th birthday. So I did that during my update. And then right after the meeting, I got another text, Oh, no, it's next year. Too late, it's out on the air. Paul did his job.
Yeah. So I ran into Jane, though, recently, and she had told me, so she let the cat out of the bag. So if you see Jack around, you know, in the next month or so, please be sure to wish him a happy 90th birthday.
Happy, healthy, and many, many more.
Yes, yes. So, and thank you all for coming as well and staying. I apologize again. All right, so with that, we've already discussed the employee cell phone policy. It being 9:45, I really don't want to get into the HR director discussion tonight because I want to do it justice and I'd rather push it back another meeting. So let me look and see how heavy that agenda is. I want to give that the right amount of time, and I just think it's too much and too late for tonight. So with that, I think between all the updates, I had some stuff written down. I crossed it all off. We covered it. Any other selectmen's updates?
Clean up Foxborough Day.
Clean up Foxborough Day, right.
Hey, that's right.
Yes,
Phenomenal.
yeah.
And I
I
did
think we were
actually
all
see-
there, cleaning up, got our
saw-
t-shirts.
Yep. Thank you to AJ
Yeah,
and
it
his
was a
crew.
Saw
fabulous
AJ this
day.
morning,
And
and I
the
just,
committee, it was great.
Yeah, it was a fabulous day. And I like it in September. You know, April can be kind of tough with, it can just, it's tough anytime, but I don't know, these dates, the weather's nice, it really worked out well. So I saw Seth was down on those train tracks for a long time, picking up trash in the
But you
train
know what, when
tracks.
you get to it every year, it seems like, when I noticed when we went a couple of years because of COVID or whatever,
Yeah.
it was a lot, and so this year it seemed like a little bit less volume,
Yeah.
so. But there was still a ton
Right,
to do,
agree.
so it's important work, so.
You know, just as a side note to that, Bill and I saw AJ today, a little earlier today, and he was very pleased. There were over 400 volunteers. Certainly all the pizza places in Foxborough that donated
love
all
how
the
they came
pizza,
together.
all the kids that were involved, all the families that had their little kids with their little T-shirts all the way down to their knees, you know, with Foxborough, you know, cleanup day, the blue this year. AJ was quite pleased with the community.
I don't know if it was a case of that he worked so hard he hurt himself on the weekend because him and I were both in the same place for the same reason.
Oh, no, okay, I'm picking up what you're putting out. All right, so with that, I think we have a number of action items, though they all should be pretty quick, and then I think we can adjourn.
Okay. Motion to approve a petition for joint or identical pole location by Massachusetts Electric Company doing business as National Grid and Verizon New England, Inc., Shaw Place. Install new pole with anchor approximately 60 feet south of pole 2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Right.
Sorry.
Okay, Squadron 21ers. Motion to approve 2 one-day beer and wine licenses for September 24th for the Norfolk Alumni Association for Squadron 21ers and October 16th for Foxborough High School soccer boosters.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Okay. Motion to approve a change of offices for Colwyn Management, Inc., doing business as Renaissance Hotel at Patriot Place, to add David Rebick as the Chief Financial Officer.
Second.
All those in favor?
Motion to approve the public event application for the Lowrider Depot Trunk or Treat event on October 29th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Motion to approve a common victual license with updated ownership for Five Guys Properties LLC, doing business as Five Guys Burgers and Fries, number 374.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
And approval of the, motion to approve the June 21st, 2022 Board of Selectmen meeting minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion on those? All those in favor?
And the final motion? Dennis?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Motion to adjourn.
There you go.
All those in favor? Aye. Good night, everyone. Thank you. See you in 2
Great.
weeks.
Thanks, everyone.
Anything to sign tonight? these all